Hey guys, my name's Steph. I'm Botanist Cool. I'm here to talk to you guys about Dungeons and Dragons today, and I actually have a special guest. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Katie. Some of you might know me as Annalise the Good Barrel. I played on Steph's stream before. I've been, playing Dungeons and Dragons with Steph for, what is it, it's a couple of years now, right?
It's been like two years at least, I believe.
Yeah, time flies. But yeah, been playing D&D for a long time with him. If 2 years counts as a long time.
I mean, 2 years is a pretty long time. I'm actually trying to fix the noise gate real quick. Silver, how you doing today, Silver? Silver just got out of a D&D session. That's awesome. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Silver, who does a lot of Genshin Impact streams. I know that you're doing a dual stream with Winter later on, but yeah, today we're actually doing a D&D help stream, which today's topic is one of my favorite topics, which is making tropes into fun and enjoyable player characters. Because it is actually I think a very fun way to make a character. I think it's one of the most accessible ways of making a character. As well. I don't know what you guys think, but I definitely think it's one of the most accessible ways of making an actual character for a D&D.
Yeah, I think tropes are good because and you can make people want different things out of D&D, right? Some people get really into their characters and some people don't. And the cool thing with tropes like this is you can if you're not that much into the character, you can sort of use it as a template and just sort of run with it. But the reason that these things became tropes in the first place is because with the right line of questioning and development, you can build them into something really interesting.
100% agreed. Guys, do tell me if the audio sounds a little funky, primarily because I'm trying to make sure that the Discord audio is not getting to the microphone doing double feedbacks. And I wasn't able to test that out until just now. So do tell me how the audio is sounding. And yeah, Silver, I completely agree. Tropes can be a lot of fun. And what we did actually was we decided to put out into the Discord a link that you guys can submit your own tropey characters based upon some things and prompts I gave you. So some of these prompts were very simple, like you're a barkeeping apprentice, kind of in a small town full of a bustling thing, but full of a bustling townsfolk. What's your character? You're just a barkeeping apprentice. That's all I gave you. It's kind of it's not really more of a trope, but rather the tropes you have to choose from for making this barkeeper apprentice was the spoiled teen who never worked a day in their life, a rogue with ulterior motives, and a person of few words. These are very broad things that are kind of tropey in D&D that you see almost all the time, and you get a lot of varied responses from just those three prompts. You know what I'm saying? I oftentimes see tropes more as prompts rather than actually just being oh, this is just a trope, same old, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's this YouTuber I watch a lot for writing advice and stuff because I find that stuff interesting. And one of the things they point out is I think it was a trope is different from a cliche, and their argument was this is the closer look, by the way. I watched a lot of their videos. It's really cool. They argued that a trope is what we've been discussing, kind of these templates that have been used, but there's room for originality, versus a cliche is something where it's been done to the point where you can't do anything original with it. It's too it is like the murder hobo, where it's you can't really be original with that type of character anymore.
Yeah, the murder hobo is a cliche. I hope just as a DM, the murder hobo is the worst thing to have in the party, personally speaking. And I do not like that cliche, but that's one thing that I also see as I think one of the first starting mistakes that at least I faced was thinking that tropes had to be a way and you had to go certain way, chaotic neutral had to be this, chaotic neutral had to be this, lawful had to be this, neutral good had to be this. We motion plus, hello. And actually, this is kind of where I wanted to actually give the first prompt of the day. What we're basically gonna be doing today is we're gonna be giving host prompts and then talking, which both I and my host, being Katie at the moment, and if anyone else joins on in later, we might have someone else join in later. That person as well, make characters based off of a prompt. And I have a prompt that is going to be that this is a prompt that's near and dear to my heart because I've used this prompt in many D&D campaigns of mine. So I'm going to set the scene for you guys, and I'm going to have Katie make a character based off the scene, and I'm going to also make a variation of this character as well. And if you guys want to make a variation of this character, I want you to as well. This is time for you guys to actually tell us what your variation of this character that I'm going to be giving out is. And if you guys want to submit that character, under the Worms tab, there is tell us about your tropey character reward. Type your character in there. We'll read about it, and we'll talk a lot about it. So I'm going to set the scene for you.
All right.
I want you to envision this in your head. Like close your eyes. Everyone close your eyes.
Closing my eyes.
Listen to the sound.
I have no idea about anything Steph has planned or what you guys have submitted, by the way. So I'm going into this as blind as most of you are.
All right. Oops, sorry. I did this computer sound again, raise the volume for myself. All right. So close your eyes. Clear your thoughts. It's night. Down an alleyway, we see a lone figure sitting on a bench. He's fidgeting nervously, looking around, looking for perhaps a contact. And out of the corner of his eyes, he sees someone. They come by in what seems to be a robe, walking down with a tall, proud stature. The individual has blonde hair and a curlicue mustache gently going around their lips. And as they sit down, the man asks the person, "Did you bring the money?" And the person goes, "Did you bring the goods?" The man thinks for a second. He nods and he goes, "I brought the goods," and brings out a small bag of the weed hemp. Gasp. The person next to him rips off their robe, rips off their disguise being a curlicue mustache, and loudly proclaims, "I am Sir Jerome, the most lawful man in the kingdom." "And I have caught you, thief, trading the weed hemps. This is illegal under the kingdom's stature." And promptly arrests the man trading the weed hemps with a crowd of fanboy and fangirl officers. Now, your prompt is to make Sir Jerome the most lawful man in the entire kingdom. Now, to be fair, I'm going to expand this a little bit. This is going to be a 3 kobolds in a trench coat. Now, I'm going to expand this a little bit for everyone playing at home as well. Sir Jerome is a character that I have made, and Sir Jerome's actually a title passed down from paladin to paladin for the most lawful good individual of the guild nation. And it's basically passed down as a tradition. So Sir Jerome could be a man, a woman, a non-binary, or transgender individual. Sir Jerome could be literally anybody. The only thing that's really is a common connecting factor of them is that they are lawful good, and they tend to be once in a while a little bit dramatic, as you saw, ripping off the tiny curlicue mustache being the only form of disguise this proud individual has. So the host prompt and your guys' prompt is to actually make a Sir Jerome. I'm going to put it on the screen in a second. All you need to know about him is that he's lawful good and the most lawful individual in the kingdom. That's all you need to know. And I think you'll find out that this is actually a very interesting prompt to go down.
And this is a difficult prompt for me personally because I have met your Sir Jerome, so it's going to be hard for me to get those preconceived notions out of my head.
Oh, for sure. I will say this. I actually have several variations of Sir Jerome. The 3 kobold. Now, here's the thing. Silver, here's the thing. If you want to make a 3 kobolds in a trench coat scenario, that could apply to Sir Jerome. I'm not gonna lie, that could apply to Sir Jerome. Like, this is the thing. Sir Jerome is a title, not per se a person. So you guys are making a character based off this title of Sir Jerome. which is a lot of fun because I've made 3 variations of Sir Jerome myself. I've made the well, I call him PTSD Sir Jerome. I've made the stick up the ass Sir Jerome, and I made the goofy as all hell Sir Jerome, which all 3 of them were a lot of fun to play. The most recent in the timeline being the PTSD Sir Jerome. But I think this is a very good topic to start with because lawful good is one of the most pigeonholed alignments. And
I think that's unfair a lot of the time too. Which because of my character who is not Sir Jerome, but in the Stuffs campaign, I made a character named Zolani, and she was a lawful good paladin, and she was all about truth and redemption. So that was her thing. So one of her things, which made her kind of hard to play, but kind of rewarding to play, is she did not believe in lying. She, she understood that there were times where other people, she understood the consequences of not lying, which is if you're not lying to a really, really bad guy, it's going to be harder to infiltrate things and do things like that. And she knows that. So she kind of lets it slide a little bit when other people do it, depending on the circumstance. But at the same time, she had that very strong belief of I have to set this example. And that can be really fun and interesting to role play. It doesn't have to be a stick in the mud character, although it can be. It could be so that's the most lawful character so going into steps, the most lawful character in the land. So there's different kinds of lawful. Some could just be a very, very strong moral code. Some could be, the actual law of the land. I think Sir Jerome, in many ways, even trying to clear myself of your sort of ruling of him, is a very law of the land type thing, especially given in your example where he's I've caught you, Mr. Weed Man. So let's see, going into that, I imagine someone, just from that scenario, someone who they work very closely with the police, so they have a very good relationship with the police. Maybe they're not given the most covert missions ever, the police sort of pass on to them yeah, we need you to get this guy, but with his paper-thin disguise or whatever, the police don't really trust him with anything that needs sort of a tactful hand sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So he sort of comes in very brashly, he's a guy who thinks that he's doing really good, but he's not given the trust that a lot of higher ups in the law would seek. They don't trust him. They're this guy's an idiot. So his whole thing is and he would be devastated and heartbroken to find this out. Mm-hmm. But at some point, he does, and his character arc is sort of showing them no, put me on these missions, I can do it. But at the same time, it's a comedy of errors type thing, because when he's put into more serious situations, the big bads actually don't get him. But what happens is he runs off, they're tailing a guy, and he has to he's that person just jade walked, I have to go stop them. It's the drug lord's over there, and he's no, I have to go stop that jaywalker. But the jaywalker is a witness who saw something, and that's how he starts doing things, is he gets people on these minor crimes, and that's how he eventually finds his way to the bigger people in the bigger cases. Is he can't actually do the big tracing, but all his little nitpicks that he does actually gets him there.
That's amazing. I've never thought of Sir Jerome like that. You're presenting Sir Jerome as a kind-hearted individual who just he knows the law. He knows the law of his land, and he wants the best for his citizens. But at the same time, Sir Jerome certainly is definitely a little bit of a doof. He doesn't know how to do so. I guess you would say so in any orthodox way. Like he doesn't know the orthodox standard procedures. He just kind of almost stumbles into doing good.
Like he can't. Like he can't even, like he's like too busy being so lawful and good that like he can't, he's too doofy to like do the whole deception or like go undercover like too seriously, because like if he's undercover too long, eventually he's just gonna blurt out like, you can't do that, that's illegal.
Here's the scene, right? Oh
wait, hold on, we got something.
Yeah, Silver just actually submitted their trophy character, which I am excited to take a look at. We'll take a quick break from Sir Jerome. Take a look at Silver's character. A former thief got cursed after trying to steal from a magic user. The only way to break the curse is to become the most lawful person in the kingdom and never break any law and stop any lawbreakers there could be. In order to stop this curse, they rise in the ranks of the law and eventually become too enraptured in this law-abiding persona that they begin to own it. Yo!
That's awesome.
Oh my god, that's a really good, because like I can see this going two ways. And Silver, feel free to interact with us via chat, like because like I want to know how you're thinking about this. I see this going in two ways. Like you have the you kind of have like two tropes here, right? You have the trope of the unwitting hero, someone who doesn't want to be the hero and kind of wants to live by their own rules, but ends up accidentally or on purpose or for whatever reasons becoming the hero and accidentally kind of stumbling into this scenario, like by this most ridiculous way. I love it. Hey, research. I absolutely love it. Like it sounds like this Sir Jerome is just kind of like, it's so self-serving in a way, but at the same time, it's also very well character driven. I think that's a really good way to actually make a really interesting lawful good character. What do you think, Katie?
Yeah, I like that because, again, the thing with like any of making a character of any of this is like you can't get too like when you bog down in the idea of like what lawful good could mean. And like that's really interesting because like most people think lawful good, oh, they must have been good and fuddy-duddy from the start, and I really like that for yours it's like it sort of like takes that and it really twists it into like, no, they were probably like, if they're a thief, they were probably at the very least chaotic. They probably weren't good, and then like just now they have to be. And that's really fun.
I definitely like that because like there are ways to organically grow your character, obviously, and a lot of times at least when I make a character, a lot of times I think of how do I want this person to grow and why do I want them to grow. I think you actually introduced a new concept to me, was actually placing a forced growth option on them, in which they can either live with the consequences of what they've done. So in this example, stealing a magic item and then having to become either a lawful good paladin or a lawful good servant of the land, or having to be struck with this curse. Now, here's actually a good question. So we have Silver, I would love to build off this character, just to, like learn more about how your mind went about this. So this thief is trying to steal a magic item from a magic user, or steal an item from any magic user. What, I guess, curse is strong enough to really, or what condition of this curse is strong enough to basically have a person change their alignment, or change their mindset? Because this is not just going from I'm a thief and now I'll be a cop. It seems to be like over a span of years, Yeah, that's fine. But like that's what we're doing right now. We're actually kind of like having fun with it. You know, we're going off. You don't need to think of curse, but we could always like talk like in your mind. Like this guy's a thief. He might have been like a Robin Hood thief. He might have been like I'm a selfish thief. We don't know. But like, what curse has this thief that is so that is what curse would have this thief so wanting to actually do law and order?
Yeah, so you didn't think of a curse.
Yeah. I mean, I thought like what I'm thinking is like if they're a Robin Hood thief, right? A curse that would make people disdain them. Actually, I feel would be like this person wants to do good, but they're doing bad to do good. Like stealing from the rich to give to the poor. A person who is disdained and a person who is like under this curse forced to be seen as evil by other perception makes it so that this guy can't do the good they want to, right? Like, I feel like that is a very compelling kind of curse. Or if they're a selfish individual, the curse could actually do like physical harm to them. Like, I feel like at that point, actually finding out what the curse is kind of a lot of fun too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's fun because that also tells you more about the character. Like if they're a vain person, it could be their physical appearance, or is it like, a curse on their life, a very generic, but like, like basically like you're going to die in 10 years if you don't do this is like a bit cliche, but like it gets the job done.
Yeah.
Or like it could even, or if there's someone they care about, like even something for them. Like that's the fun thing about curses too, is when you have a curse, like what the curse is and how they feel about it tells you a lot about the character. Also,
James just appeared.
Yeah.
Hey James, can you speak for us?
You are on mute, James.
Hello.
All right, I'm saving a new file, so it's going to sound weird. For a second, you'll hear some computer stuff, and please make sure, once again, do tell me if you hear any backfeed from everyone talking. This is James. He's also one of my players. He has not played on stream before, but he's a pretty veteran player. We've been playing now for I think about 8 months now, maybe more. James?
I think it's been almost a year now.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So, James, we are on a specific topic now. We were actually talking about making a Sir Jerome the most lawful individual in the kingdom. Katie brought up a very, and we're talking about like making like a lawful good character. Katie brought up a really interesting concept where it's like this guy just kind of bumbles into being lawful good, like.
It's kind of like a cop comedy, basically. Whenever he's involved, where he just like. He has to like he gets bogged down by all the minor stuff that he can't chase the bad guy, but all the minor stuff leads to the bad guy, like getting crucial information that other people would overlook because they're too busy on the big stuff and not focused enough on the small tiny stuff he's obsessed over.
And it's kind of it's kind of like a detective that always seems to find himself in the middle of a case, but he goes like, oh, this one like off the wall clue just so happens to be the hideout of the villain.
Yeah,
and
yeah, like I don't know if you've seen Monk, but like how Monk has to leave the crime scene in the middle of something, and he does it because of his OCD. Like he'll see a girl ice skating with only one glove and be like, they'll be in the middle of interviewing like a witness to a murder. He's like, I gotta go. This girl needs to either get a second glove or put the glove away. That kind of thing, except it's like, that person 5 blocks down is jaywalking. We have to leave the stakeout immediately.
I wonder if that Sir Jerome is just accidentally blessed by the gods as well. Like, I could imagine like one option being like there is like a celestial influence to them as well.
Probably. They kind of land in that like dumb luck trope, and of course like part of this is more like character based than like, because like translating to Dungeons and Dragons, like part of it would be like, you'd have to hope that your DM would like kind of like allow you to set up clues like that a little bit for it to like truly work as I'm saying it, but it's at least a fun little like starting concept. And like depending, like you have like, because D&D, you have to roll the dice and all that, so like it might not pan out that way every time, but it might not pan out every time, but that's fine. He fails a couple of times, but if it does work out, that one time, everyone's gonna like have a laugh riot.
And then
that happened in our first ever game with Ventral. He was so bold to try and get death on his good side through flirting.
Yeah.
And the roll was bad.
Yeah.
And I got like, I think it was like a 3 or something, and Death was like, what are you? And then I messed up my relationship with Death for the rest of the game because of how bad it was.
Meanwhile, Riza rolled animal handling really good on Cerberus. So.
And they're like, oh God, the dog likes them? God dang it.
Hey Chaos, after that, Silver actually gave us their version of Sir Jerome, which was really cool. A former thief that got cursed after trying to steal from a magic user. The only way to break the curse is to become the most lawful person in the kingdom and to never break any laws and to stop lawbreakers out there. In order to stop this curse, they rise to the ranks of the law and eventually become too enraptured with the law, abiding the persona that they begin to own it. And then they added on, the more bad things they do, they slowly turn into a kobold. When they do good things, it reverses the effect. Also, if they go too long without doing good things, it's the same effect as if doing a bad thing. So this leads me to believe that this individual, whoever this Sir Jerome is kind of vain in the way that they don't want to be seen as or treated as a kobold, which is, I think that's a great actual like curse for a certain kind of character. I think that's a fantastic idea, Silver.
What's extra fun is like you're gonna have great development no matter which way this goes, because either they become the most lawful good person in the world, in the land, or they're like, you know what, kobolds aren't so bad after all. And that's also character growth, is being like, you know what, I know my truth. I'm a horrible thief, and now I'm a kobold.
That's a good point. Like this curse is actually really cool because it doesn't provide a permanent end in terms of someone's life or something, but rather it provides two distinct endings that allow you to continue the character either way.
Yeah, and I always think that's like cool too, because like I think it's fun to design characters with arcs in mind, and sometimes it's fun to have two different arcs and be like, it could go either way. Let's see how the campaign takes it. Like, I have the character right now in a campaign, and I was basically like, this character's either going to settle down or slip into evil. I don't know which it is. Let's see by the end of the campaign what happens to her. So right now she has one evil point. Which, funnily enough, like, James, you and the rest of the team were like, yeah, I guess she deserves it. I don't know. Meanwhile, I was like, oh, she totally deserves it.
Hey, as DM, I knew she fucking deserved it.
Yeah.
Oh, but, was that the cave?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when, yeah.
So Silver just said, reject law, embrace kobold.
Reject law. Okay. Yeah, like that can be a fun thing too. That can make characters interesting. Is sometimes characters fail their character arcs, and that can be interesting in its own way.
Now,
it'd be interesting if like this environment that this kobold is in is like, are people racist towards kobolds, or are people like, oh, that's just a kobold, who cares?
Yeah.
It really depends on the setup of the DM's backstory, if people see that as a bad thing or not.
Also, Chaos, first and foremost, congratulations on doing your first D&D session, my dude. That's awesome. But secondly, if you want to play along, the current prompt is up on the top right-hand corner. You are free to make a Sir Jerome. They are lawful good, and Sir Jerome's a title, not per se gender, sex, etc. They could be they, them, he, she, whatever you want them to be, and the only prompt you have is they're lawful good, and they're the most lawful individual in the kingdom. So yeah. Oh, you actually made a paladin mountain dwarf named Herrick. His main weapon was a greatsword. That's actually pretty cool. Nice. But yeah, if you want to play along, you're free to play along, and we'll be talking about original characters, of course, later on. But James, my question for you now is, what is your Sir Jerome like?
My Sir Jerome?
What's your Sir Jerome like?
So all you need to know, most lawful good in the land.
Yep.
Do you want to redo the whole prompt for James?
Sure, I'll redo the whole prompt for you real quick, James.
There's a whole prompt where you had to clear our minds and hear it. And then I just sort of like ad-libbed until I found something.
Silver, I get you. So here's the prompt, right? The prompt for the basis of what Sir Jerome is. Close your eyes and ears. Keep your ears open. Close your eyes, James.
Close your ears. Get out of
your ears now.
So you see a man. He is sitting in a dark alleyway at night, and he's fidgeting around nervously. He's got a bag next to him that seems to be filled with something. You don't quite know what it is. But next to that man, you see an individual walking to them, proud, cloaked, and with blonde hair and a thin curly Q mustache on their lips. And as they sit down, they look at the man and they go, "Do you have the goods?" And the man goes, "Do you have the money?" The individual with the curly Q mustache nods, and the man brings out the goods. And as the man opens the bag, you see inside, gasp, the weed hemp. And as the weed hemp is shown, you see the proud individual stands up, rips off their curly Q mustache, and loudly proclaims, "I am Sir Jerome, the most lawful man in the kingdom, and I have caught you red-handed dealing the weed hemps. Take him away!" And you see a whole bunch of basically like Officer Jenny's and Officer Ken's and fanboys of like and fangirls of Sir Jerome just kind of come up and arrest the individual. Hilariously wow. So this is the prompt and idea of an escapade of Sir Jerome. How would you make this your Sir Jerome? We had two amazing prompts. I love them both. I actually imagined my first Sir Jerome I ever imagined was very stereotypical, actually. Kind of a stick in the mud Sir Jerome. He's just lawful good. And I kind of imagined him as, a kid who grew up in the nation, just wanted to be the good for things. But then I actually took a few steps back a couple years later, and I made the first Sir Jerome, the Sir Jerome who started the traditions of naming Sir Jeromes through titles, right? And he was a patriotic individual in his empire that eventually he found out his emperor was actually pretty bad and had and housed a lot of negative things. Like this was a country that actually exterminated other cultures entirely, and he had been under the impression that yes, our country is so good, we have driven out the goblins and the orcs and whatever, like we have subjugated and brought in and given blessings to the elves of the region who tried to destroy us years and years ago. But then he realized it was all propaganda, and he actually started the resistance against the empire with a kitsune individual named Felicia Benet.
Yes.
Yeah, with a kitsune individual, and that's how I made. I think my most pure version of Sir Jerome is that one, the one who wasn't so much law, was much good, and the law was actually the law of his heart, being the law of loving. He loved everyone else so externally. He thought his kingdom was bringing good to people, when after a while he realized his kingdom was actually doing bad. And so he turned on his king, he turned on his father, he turned on his family, he turned on his troops, and he was actually publicly executed by the king after being found out, and he died a martyr for the resistance. And he is still spoken 700 years later in hushed tones in the empire as one of the liberators of non-human individuals. And he himself was a human. He was someone who was given all this privilege, and he still decided that's not good. I have a law of love. I have good in me, and I am going to fight for the good of all against my kingdom. And 700 years later, he ultimately not failed. He wasn't able to stop the king then, but he inspired so many people 700 years in the future that there's actually an active rebellion in my world right now going on, fighting the empire and taking back land from individuals who lost it, like the elves and the dwarves and stuff like that. So Sir Jerome became a title because of that. He freed so many people. He became that title. Sir Jerome not only was a person, he eventually became a thought. So that's how I think my favorite version of my Sir Jerome was. I love everyone else's Sir Jerome, don't get me wrong, but that's the favorite version I made for myself. What have you made, James?
So I've been thinking while you were talking about your Sir Jerome.
Yeah, I was giving you, I was stalling for you for a bit.
Thank you, because I needed the second to actually piece together what I wanted.
Yeah.
So my Sir Jerome would probably would go undercover in something like the example that came to my head was non-human trafficking, like in the Empire. And he feels like the only way he could take it down is by getting into the system and essentially, and then so he would do everything in his power to buy off as many of the non-human citizens that are getting trafficked.
Yeah.
And so he's like, his way is he's going to participate in the system to make the system better, and then try to find who is the big head boss of the traffic ring.
It's like a Schindler's List situation.
Yeah. And then at the end, once he takes everybody down, he then turns himself into the police because he was, in fact, a part of the, he did buy humans. He didn't do anything to them, but he was still a part of of that action. So he's like he's like, yes, I'm doing this to save people, but I'm also participating in that system.
Yeah, I like that little twist at the end. That really ties into the lawful part, where it's like going like, like you stick to your morals so much where it's like, even if he set them free immediate, like just the idea that he must atone for any part of this like darkness is really interesting.
And I think right there, I think this is the really cool thing about this now is I think everyone watching now knows lawful good could go a lot of ways. We just had 4 very different Sir Jeromes basically based off of one prompt. And I think that's like kind of the beauty of taking this is kind of why I wanted to make this topic was we all had one trope we built something off of. Silver went this really cool fantasy magic way with a curse, and I loved it. Katie went this kind of goofy comedy, comedy cop duo thing. Like I loved it. James went through like a Schindler's List story, which was really great, and I went, I had a story of rebellion, which was kind of a classic, but like there were 4 different Sir Jeromes who ended up being 4 really different characters, and that's I think one of the coolest things about tropes. You take that trope and you make it your own. Like that's the purpose of today's episode, and I'm really hoping you guys are digging that, and I'm hoping you guys are ready for more stuff like that coming up soon too. Oh god, that was fun. Sir Jerome has been a classic in my games for a very long time, and you guys feel free to use your own Sir Jerome. They are great.
They definitely add, how like chaotic neutrals kind of add spice. Lawful good kind of adds like the sweet part, like the sweet element, or it's just like okay, so how they're most likely going to act at any given time. But like with someone who's chaotic, you don't know, and so I think like lawful good alignment is a very interesting one to roleplay because it's I've never done it. All my characters have been chaotic, but it would be interesting to play as Sir Jerome.
Yeah, as someone who who has roleplayed lawful good, but then also 2 chaotic neutrals. I think you hit the nail on the head, James, where sort of with any characters, like if you can sort of like get to the heart of like why they're doing a certain thing, like it's really, and I've kind of talked with you about this the other day, Steph, but like with any character, what makes them different really is sort of like the whys that they're doing it with. And chaotic neutrals tend to be a very sort of, chaos doesn't mean random necessarily as much as it sort of like goes to like freedom. Like they might be changing on whims, but like they're sort of like more free flowing and less rigid, versus lawfuls tend to be very rigid and, as James said, predictable, which doesn't make them bad characters at all, because knowing how your character is going to act, like lawful is really good for that. Like if your character like has very strong belief system, like that's kind of like what the lawful is just that very strong belief that like that they're going to follow through thick and thin. And that makes a very interesting character, because it makes a very driven character. Like what will motivate that character to go do something, and that can be helpful for DMs. Like it's always helpful to be like, if that paladin is going to rescue that little like that girl like crying up the edge of the road, like that's a very easy thing to put in, and the paladin goes, come on team, and sort of pulls the rest of the team along. It's very good in D&D to have like very driven characters, and that's part of the appeal of this lawful alignment is sort of what they're about. They know what they're about. You as a role player know what they're about. Everyone knows what they're about. So they're very easy to incorporate into the story like that.
Sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to be like, we act like a perfect example of it has been the game we've been playing for a year now, where we have a character, Bella, who is this character. And Steph loves this character because he can put her in situations where it tests her ability to be lawful or and this poor character has gone through so much. And it's just, I don't know. It's a really interesting dynamic having character development for somebody who's lawful good, because someone who's badly playing a lawful good they're going to be like a static character all the way through. But someone who knows what they're doing, it makes the character progression really cool. And it's like where it was like, okay, so I'm lawful good, but I do have some room to stretch if I really need to. And I just really like obviously stick to your main alignment. But if dip your toe in another alignment on a certain decision, I think it really makes a cool dynamic character.
Yeah, and that's something like lawful characters, they have a tendency to be static because they are so rigid. They can be dynamic, depending on, whether what the campaign allows them to grow in, and sort of like what you have planned for them. Like so my lawful good Zulani, she was pretty static throughout the whole thing, but she was very driven in her goals. Like her goal was like, I sort of messed this thing up because of my alignment a couple years ago. She tried to redeem something that was largely thought to be irredeemable. She wanted to try and do it, and because of that, there was kind of a hiccup, and that thing didn't get killed or sealed or fully redeemed. And it caused a lot of chaos, so she was there to like sort of redeem herself. So she was very static the whole time through, but she still had that drive. But she also did face situations where because her whole thing was about her telling the truth and stuff, she had to face situations where it's like what happens when she's sort of leading this group of a bunch of people who they all think that lying is the best way to get like they like to lie and sneak off. Like most of the people in her party that she was leading was like that, because these lawful characters, they tend to be the face of the party a lot of time because of their drive. So like she's had to sort of like, corral these people and sort of be like, all right, let's not do it this way, or like, decide when, like, value herself to be like, all right, when do I sort of like let myself turn a minor blind eye for the greater good? And her blind eye is like, most people wouldn't consider it a blind eye, but to her, but, like it's very minimal. But even that, like James, you had a really good point with the testing. Like, like these lawful characters are very interesting because you test what they're made of.
Along that same line, it would be really interesting to see if like one really good lawful good role player is just thrown into a group of murder hobos and just see what happens.
I was actually thinking about Sir Jerome, right? And as a concept, who Sir Jerome is, what Sir Jerome is. And I did think of something very interesting. I thought, like, because we're actually, like, I want to say this because I want to push the envelope of what lawful good is as well, right? I have taken a Sir Jerome in a way, like, I right now, like, I've been making my head. You guys probably seen me laugh a few times. People talk when there's, like, not supposed to be laughing, because I just came up with a great, I think it's a fun idea to make a lawful good character out of, that actually pushes into that chaotic testing that James was talking about. When you talk about making a lawful good Sir Jerome, and remember, guys, if you want to make a lawful good Sir Jerome, put that in the chat box. We'll talk about it 100%. If you want to, one thing I was thinking of, like, Pirate King Sir Jerome. That sounds really fucking wild, right? But think about it like this. Are you ready? I'm imagining this guy's backstory actually is very simple. As a child, his village or whatever it was under attack for whatever reason it was. And the person who came to save and to fight off the attackers was one of these Sir Jeromes. And even though as a child he could not do much, he still fought as alongside Sir Jerome against these raiders. And what ended up happening was Sir Jerome, there being on his deathbed, gave this individual the title of Sir Jerome because of how much he saw the love and good inside this individual. And the boy doesn't know what it means. The boy has no precognition of what Sir Jerome is, but he kind of sees this and he goes, I've seen this man fight for the good and the health of people. I want to do that too. And as the new Sir Jerome, he takes Sir Jerome's belongings, gives him a proper burial, everything like that, but he becomes a pirate in order to take down what he considers to be a corrupt governmental system ruling the nation. So I see a big...
I would like to add on to that, Steph.
Yeah.
So I forget what it's called, but there is... what is it called? It's when there are certain pirates that like work for the king or whatever.
Mariners, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember. So you could also take it that way. Like, like he's working in the law because he's conscripted by this king.
Yeah.
And he's doing good piracy against this other bad.
He's pirating the pirates.
He's like the opposite of Jack Sparrow.
Well, the funny thing about Jack Sparrow...
who was it? It was like Barbossa started working for the king or something, didn't he?
The funny thing is, Jack Sparrow, you could argue, is actually lawful good.
No.
No, think about this, right? Jack Sparrow had a pretty
chaotic energy, though.
No, I wouldn't call him lawful.
I mean, there's an argument to be made. Like, as an example, he was branded a pirate, if I remember correctly, because Jack Sparrow did not consider human beings to be cargo. He actually refused to sell human beings. He refused to sell slaves. Yeah, like, he has a strong. The whole point is like the lawful alignment to me is all about the sticking to your code, and you could argue. I'm not saying he is, but you could argue that kind of Jack Sparrow followed a level of law that we don't give him credit for. And that's kind of how I see my version of Sir Jerome being. He follows a law of, maybe not per se the law of the land, because he's trying to take down a tyrannical government, but he's following a law set to him as a precedent through kind of kindness.
I see your point, Steph, but I would argue that having a little bit of a moral code or like a principle you won't cross alone doesn't make you fully lawful. Like, I think Jack Sparrow is very, very chaotic. Like, he has that whole line. What is it? You can always trust a dishonest pirate, to be honest. It's like,
what if it was like a true neutral? Maybe Jack Sparrow is like a true neutral, because like you truly don't know what he is going to do.
Right. But I would almost say that leans into chaotic, because lawful is like, or chaotic in many sense. You can really think of it as sort of like valuing freedom and individualism in a lot of ways. You aren't going to when you do, like, that's how you have like the chaotic good, is like, that's how you have like the Batman and this stuff, is like, you're not gonna confine yourself to what other people think, or or like, you're not going to get bogged down in the rules to do a certain thing. And that's what makes them like more unpredictable and quote unquote chaotic. And Jack Sparrow is definitely that, because a lot of times, like, it's clear that he has like reasoning for what he does, and like he will do good things and he will do bad things, but like you can really tell that he values like that freedom above anything, and whatever decisions he makes, he doesn't tie himself to his past decisions in a way that a lawful person would, I think. Where it's like he will allow his alliances to change and be fluid in a way that a lawful person typically does not. I think that's a good way to think of it. It doesn't mean he's without morals or without regrets or without this or that, but he is more fluid, and based on what he believes will allow himself to sort of like look at incidents in isolation. I think
that's fair assumption.
Yeah. We're getting way off track, my bad.
Yeah. Silver, I've actually not seen One Piece, so I wouldn't be able to do any comparisons on One Piece, but if you got an opinion on One Piece characters being lawful, you're free to tell us. Like, I just had a fun thought of Sir Jerome being a good old pirate king, but yeah. Lawful could also be seen as stable or stability. That's definitely one thing for sure. As an example, Genshin Impact with the new Inazuma country.
Spoilers.
I won't say much more than that, but I'll say it's extremely lawful in a completely different way that leeway is lawful.
Yes. Yeah, leeway is a very interesting government system and then the lawful characters in that place are like very it's a fun story.
I can kind of think of the people like, you guys know Gulliver's Travels, right?
I've heard of it, never
vaguely.
So when reading Gulliver's Travels, Gulliver travels around the world, meets fantastic cultures. Leeway almost reminds me of this one culture that's in Gulliver's Travels. It actually talks by the weirdest shit, right? They take a balloon or a stretchy like piece of rubber, they'll put one end on their mouth and one on another person's ear, and that's how they know they're talking. They've made a contract between each other talking, basically. I kind of see leeway to be that kind of lawful in the way of there's a strict code of contract truth and, self-honesty in its own way. And if you break those contracts, you break you get punished. But Inazuma is definitely lawful in the way of listen to the Shogun or we're going to kill you.
Well, that's why it's based off Japan.
Yeah, I mean, it's based off the isolation period of Japan, 100%.
Oh, what time period?
A crazy time period
where they like closed off.
Yeah.
Japan and Japan's history, like no one was allowed really in or out,
except the Dutch. We're thinking of the same video, Katie.
We're thinking of the same video, but
Oh yeah, didn't the Dutch trade with them, and they were only allowed to go to one place.
Yeah.
yeah. James might be thinking of the same video.
Yeah.
Open
Train's
your
Japan
doors.
is a good
Stop
video.
letting it be closed.
I remember when that video came out, and I was like, wow. This is a very good video of just like history in not a boring way. And when we got to that part of, and then when we got to that part of Japan, I'm like, huh, yeah. They were like, we don't want to be influenced by anyone anymore, so go away.
Yeah. Oh, all right.
So what were we talking about before this?
Actually, I think this is a perfect opportunity to move on to something new now. So, I actually, so as you guys know, on my Discord, I put out a survey. Loki the Octo, thank you very much for the subscription, Loki. Hey, Loki, I hope you're doing very well. We're actually gonna go into a viewer submitted or a community submitted tropey character. I gave three prompts to individuals, and I kind of want to start with one which I think is gonna be the funniest, but also like one of my favorite ones ever given. So here's the prompt. Your character is new to town and is on the run from something, someone, or some vague situation. They want to meld in with the local population. Hold on a second. They want to meld in with the local population the best they can. In the town of Hewley's Hope, it's not massive, but it's big enough for a person to be lost with relative ease, or perhaps hide in relative ease. Choose a trope from this list and make a backstory about how they blend in. Here are the 3 tropes they get. 1, they're Bigfoot or a similar cryptid. 2, they're a being from outer space. Or 3, they're just as handsome Squidward. Now,
Steph, this is just has amnesty.
now, what we were given, so we're gonna basically analyze the character and talk about this character. This character, I'm just gonna give you exactly what was written down, and you have to forgive them. I'm just copying and pasting it. Ooh, beans, that's wild. Let's see if we can get that there. All right, perfect. And it's gonna look fucking wild on the stream. For this trope analysis, for that one.
That's like off the screen.
Yeah.
And it looks different actually. The one that you're describing.
Yeah, no, this is actually the answer we got from a viewer.
Oh, okay.
Here is what the viewer submitted. Champ is going to high school, trying to blend in with all the other kids. The issue is that he's a 100-foot-long lake monster with no thumbs. He can't even hold a pencil, much less graduate on time. Or will he?
Steph, I want to play this character in Monster Hunter.
Oh my god, Monster Hunter too.
So they obviously went with the you're Bigfoot or similar cryptid. Now, if you guys want to follow this prompt, I'll copy and paste the prompt itself into the chat box. Feel free to make your own character off this. But I want to talk about Champ here because Champ sounds like such a good boy, and I love him.
Oh gosh.
He's such a good boy.
Not having thumbs is hard. That's one of the things that puts us above the apes. So like, that's gonna be a struggle. Like, imagine trying to open door handles without thumbs.
Okay, he has to get really good at using his tail.
Okay.
His tail like sneaks up his back, down his arm, and is his fake thumb.
But he is 100 feet long, so like, is this like a spaghetti noodle Loch Ness monster kind of deal? Like 100 feet of like spaghetti noodle making like an
No, wait! I got it. He has 5 kids in separate clothing.
Actually, I was gonna say that because it's like the delightful children from down the lane from fucking Kids Next Door.
Oh my gosh.
He just has 5. What is this? Oh my god, I love that. That's so good.
What a great prompt.
I think they did great with that. So all right.
So wait, here's the question. Does he have like some fake disguise, or like does everyone know that he's a lake monster, but they're trying to also hide him from the government and are just pretending not to notice?
Yeah, how is Champ blending in? That's a question. Like, is Champ blending in like on a social level or physical?
Like everyone is just like giving him tips on how to blend in, but he can't blend in because he's a 100-foot lake monster.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone just pretends that he's doing great.
It's like a so what you're saying is 100-foot lake monster walks into school as 5 kids, right? And tries to speak for all 5 kids, right? And as they're walking, I imagine like each of their feet are like the body kind of coiled in that, like, you know, like I'm imagining like a serpentine monster, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like how you had Octodad with like two tentacles being defeated kind of deal. That's what I'm kind of imagining right now, and you kind of have him kind of like flopping around, and then everyone just kind of like, we know they're actually a 100-foot long lake monster. We're gonna help them be more human.
Exactly.
Wait, so do they have hands? It doesn't. I mean, it says they don't have thumbs, but that means they have hands. If they specify.
Yeah, like they have little like nubbies. But all the other ones are just like, you know, they have like many feet. They're like a Japanese water dragon.
Oh. Okay.
And so they have the claws, but like no thumbs. And it's still very hard to hold pencils like that, but they're doing their best.
So how does Champ, here's my question, because I think Katie's taking this one. Katie, how does Champ... I want to set the scene for you, Katie. Are you ready?
All right.
It's 1 week from the holiday dance for the school. The school has been advertising for quite a while, and the school children who know Champ is a 100-foot long lake monster have actually paid for Champ's ticket, knowing that Champ themselves does not have the money to pay for the ticket. And as such,
pay it 5 times, which is rough.
Yeah, they have to pay it 5 times, but you know, it's the entire school gets together and pays for Champ's tickets. My question is, Champ is now invited to the dance and given these tickets, and 5 people ask out each of 5 of the 5 of Champ's human body, shall we say. How does Champ prepare for this event? Like, what is going through Champ's mind? I want to know.
Champ is very distressed because Champ does not know that everyone knows.
Yeah.
So Champ is very worried that they are technically cheating on each of their dates by bringing more dates. And they don't know what to do because they like all of their friends equally. And they don't know how to like let anyone down, because like, what are they gonna do? Just have the other ones stand around during the date, not dancing with anyone? So they don't know what they're gonna do. And eventually how they work it out is they find someone who was really upset because no one asked them to go. And they ask that one out. So the first main head will dance with that person, and then the other 4 pair up with each other, so it's 2 and 2. So he's dancing with himself for 2 of them, and then the 5th one is dancing with that person who no one asked.
Oh.
And that's how they spend prom.
Oh, that's sweet. Oh, Champ's so good.
The best boy.
I love how we immediately put Champ in as like a good boy, just the best. Like I cannot see this person being evil.
Oh no, Champ's very good.
Chat, what do you think of Champ? You tell us.
The fact that Champ is clearly worried about graduating on time, like that alone tells you they are very good.
That's a good
very
point.
Good one.
That's a very good point.
I need to go get some more water. I'll be right back.
I don't blame you. Yeah, if you got anything you want to talk about Champ with, please do tell us what you think about Champ, because I love Champ. This was my friend actually. So I talked to my friend about this when they submitted it. My friend loved it, and they're just like, they go to me. I'm actually putting Champ in this week's D&D game. So they're actually gonna be role playing as Champ soon too, which is gonna be fucking hilarious. But Champ is such a good boy. I like this because like there's a few things automatically that you gotta think of, right? Like, how's Champ gonna graduate? How's he interacting with people and all that stuff? And I think Katie painted a really good picture of like a socially anxious 100-foot-long lake monster just trying to do their best. And I love it so much. Oh god, it's so good. It is really good. We will go through one more of these. And I'm gonna do. Actually, this one's a little bit more classic. So, I will read out the prompt to you guys. Actually, I'll post it as well. If you guys want to make a character off this prompt, please do and submit it to us. Here is the prompt itself. The prompt is.
Oh wait, we just got one.
What do you mean?
Oh, never mind.
Oh, I posted. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a chat thing. I was like, oh, someone responded.
Yeah. Your character is a barkeeping apprentice in a small town, in a small tavern, in the town of Aylshire. Aylshire is famous for its taverns, local craft ales, and joyous festivals that occur once a month at least. It's a bustling and lively town full of tourists and traders. The locals enjoy the constant tourism and their weary bodies tourism and things tend to raise. I don't think I was mentally right when I wrote this because I was probably very tired because I can't even read it. And tend to raise prices of goods during the busy seasons. Dozens of adventurers come to rest their weary bodies at the locals inn and partake in the festivities while off the clock. Choose one of the following tropes to build a character, to build a barkeeping apprentice off of: a spoiled teen who's ever worked a day in their life, a rogue with ulterior motives, and or a person of few words. So this one was submitted by Ethno. Ethno submitted this character prompt. I'll put it up on the board in a second. It is gonna look fucking wild for a second, but forgive me.
Yeah, it's partly cut off in the chat and stuff
That's
too, and I need to think.
Alright, that should be a lot better. Alright. Ooh, it's not that much better, but it's something, alright. Oop, fuck, wrong button. Character notice. Luis Charles is a teen from a rich family. He's never worked a day in his life, and has been spoiled as you could possibly be. Oh wait, was it cut off? No, it's double cut off. Ooh, rip.
Just read it to us, Steph. We got it.
Yeah. All right. Let me get. In his life, and has been as spoiled as you could possibly be. Eventually, his father realizes his mistake and kicks Luis out of his house to get a job, make a living, and buy his own home. No one would hire him, knowing about his incompetence, and everyone in the village hated him. After a lot of searching, hated him. After a lot of searching, he found a job and is working as an apprentice to Bremrock, a kind man who thinks everyone deserves a second chance, and the owner of a bar. A second chance. And the owner of a bar, Bremrock is now trying to help teach Luis the things his father could not. So we have a story here about a young man who spoiled as spoiled could be, and
Interesting.
Again?
Oh, I was about to dive in, but you sounded like you had something to say.
Yeah, he was spoiled as spoiled could be, and then had to basically get a job and do work, which is something that I think a lot of people, even in real life, would find a level of, I guess, understanding with. So, what do you think about this character, Katie?
So you know that this trope is actually, in a way, what Annalisa is based off of. But her thing is, instead of barkeeping, it's, she has to go on this adventure. But like, so this has a lot of like interesting, like, we were talking about like character arcs and like what happens to them. So it's like, is he going to learn his lesson or not? Like, if this was a start of a D&D campaign, I actually would, I kind of hear an echo.
Okay, hold on.
Is that me?
Oh,
I am
me.
back, by the way. Hello.
Hello. I don't hear it anymore, so maybe. But anyhow, so if this is a sort of D&D campaign, I would actually want to make like a combo character where it's like a complement character. So I'd be like like taking your prompt, like the rogue with ulterior motives, and I would try and tempt this character off his path to be like, no, let's get rich quick together. You know what I mean? So like, you have was it Bremdoc trying to teach him all the good stuff, and then my character, I would make a character that tries to pull him off that path. And I think it would be interesting to see whether Lewis Charles learns his lesson and becomes a good man, or gets tempted to the dark side.
Oh my god. You just like playing chaotic characters.
I do like chaotic characters.
I mean, I do too, so valid.
Listen, we defended lawful good for a long time.
It's time for some chaos, baby.
Well, listen, the whole point of this is like any alignment, based on how it interacts with the world and other characters and everything, they all have their own strengths and weaknesses and like interesting things that they can do. And I think the most fun of like any D&D thing is how characters play off each other in a party. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's fun when you can make characters play into each other's tales. Like, whether they're helping a character go through their arc, or they're hindering a character's arc. Mm-hmm. Like, or sometimes like both at the same time. Like, that's where you get the fun party dynamics, and that's where you get the if you're into more like narrative or character driven games, that's where you get some of the really, really like fun stuff. So that's what I would suggest for Lewis Charles, is like when you have these spoiled characters, like their obvious arc is going to be like whether or not they learn these very important lessons that they have to learn. Mm-hmm. And it's so what can be fun is seeing what influences them, and sort of seeing like, like, is it just that like they don't know any better, or do they have like some spoiledness that like something needs to happen to them to get that out, or are they just actually going to own their spoiled nature and become some other type of character? Like, you can get some fun twists in there, or it's like, or are they going to lean into that a bit before something happens and they realize their mistake, and they have to, now they're coming back to Bremdoc, but then Bremdoc is like, I don't know, second chances are one thing, but third chances, now they gotta prove, like, there's a lot you could do with this, and this is like a really fun start to a character, like, this sounds like the kind of backstory that it's like, like, he's probably, like, this character's probably, like, itching for anything that can, like, like, if he was spoiled, he had to get kicked out. He's probably itching for, like, easy ways out. Mm-hmm. And that's probably where the story or campaign can begin, is him pursuing these easy ways. And depending on whether they go well or poorly from him, that can influence his arc too, and you know, like if he tries the easy way out and the easy way out works, that starts leading him down one path. It says if he tries the easy way out and the easy way out fails, that sends him down another path. So like it's fun to explore these types of things.
Fun little fact: the creator of Luis Charles is currently in chat. Hey, Ethno. We were just brought up Luis Charles as a way to kind of talk about some of the ones we talked about. Champ a second ago, but Luis Charles is I think Luis Charles is a great. He's a great start for almost any character. Honestly, I think there's a level of relatableness that Luis Charles has to almost everyone, where kind of like it's that leaving moment, right? Everyone's a little spoiled in some way, right? But that moment you really are on your own, and as individuals grow up, you will understand this when you move out and go to college and stuff like that. When you're on your own, you really start making more decisions for yourself and sometimes trying to take those old habits and turn them into new habits that benefit you is extremely, extremely hard. And sometimes it's near impossible, even detrimental to yourself. So Luis Charles here, I think, like, I love the trope of a spoiled kid just kind of being forced to work with someone who gives them a second chance. Second chance characters are one of my favorite. Like, think about second chance characters. Zuko, as an example, is a fantastic example of a second chance character, right? Mm-hmm. When you take a look at like how that development could happen, Luis Charles could go, as Zuko did, as Katie mentioned, into a darker place for a while, depending on what happens, and then into a brighter place, or even just kind of have a pretty consistent growth rate. I remember we were actually talking about Annalisa once on stream, and that was Katie's character. And Annalisa went through this whole thing where she saw a village and the death and destruction that happened to the village. And then she got to this place called the Wizard's Chalice, and then Katie goes, and Annalisa just lost 2/3 of her character development right there.
Yeah, man. You let her go into a very snooty, superior place. I'm like, she's back in her element. She's back home. Oh my god. Knock away the commoners.
So, like, that's kind of like the thing that, like, it always intrigues me about some of the snooty. I cannot play a snooty character well. I can play it as a joke, like, hello, how are you doing today? Kind of deal. But like, I can't do it as a long-term character. So I always find them really interesting to see how they go through that character arcs, and just kind of, I love that. So this I think is a fantastic idea to start off a character, and I love it. It's great.
You can go so many genres with this too. Like, it's so universal. Mm-hmm. Like, I was thinking of like going full anime with it. And so he goes to this retired but like we're in like modern times, so he's like a bartender, but there's like bartending competitions. But then after a spectacular fail, he had to retire. Mm-hmm. And so this Charles comes around, and Brimdock finds that he actually has some talent in bartending, but he's lazy because he's spoiled. And so they go on this huge like training montage, going to competitions, losing, finding out that he actually does care about this. And so he becomes this really good like bartender. And like he makes a name for himself. And then finally his dad was like, this is what I wanted for you ever since I kicked you out. And Lewis would be like, well, I'm glad you did it.
Oh, that'd be sweet. I think it's a great start for any character. I know, like you're doing a space opera, it fucking works. Honestly, you're doing a fantasy setting, it works. You're doing a modern day high school AU, it works. Like, this is a very universal, and as you said, and a very like just accessible character to play. Like, if you guys are making a D&D character and you kind of want to go and test how characters can be developed, I think this is one of the tropes that you could actually use to really make a easy access first character. Ethno just said his father could also die before he gets to prove himself to him. Oh, that's a tragic turn.
And also very anime.
That's such a tragic turn. Oh my god! I just had a thought. Like, if Luis is getting like worse and worse over time, right? Like, imagine Luis is getting a little better, then starts turning back down. His father's death being that turning point for him, being that tragic turning point, is just along the lines of, oh shit, I couldn't make my father proud before he died. I need to make him proud in the afterlife. Like, I imagine that his father's death would be a turning point, or even a challenge point.
The ghost descends down from heaven.
He gets a Mufasa moment.
Remember who you are.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
Very Kung Fu Panda.
Oh man, I love it. And not only that, you have the family aspect there. Think about this. Does Luis actually get further and further away from his family? Does he stay close? So we don't know. This is just a very great way. I remember with Annalisa's character, she immediately took it as her family comparing her to Tucker, who was kind of like a friend / rival kind of deal. And
her whole thing was like, because for Annalisa, like, she was like I said before, like she was very much comes from the same vein of this trope, in that, you know, spoiled kid gets kicked out for their own good, and her whole thing is, you know, like, she wants to make her parents like very proud, but she's very spoiled and she doesn't quite know what that means. Like, she like you know, she needs to like sort of learn that she needs to like make her, like, she sort of is like, she has this like fear, you know, because like if she's not seen as good enough to be a good barrel, then what is she? And what she needs to learn is she needs to like make that title for herself. Like, okay, you're a good bear, like, that doesn't mean that like it's just given to you. Like, you have to earn that title, like that you have a noble heritage, like, live up to that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like, which isn't necessarily like the way that like it has to go. It could be like, you know, and like the whole heritage is important to her, but she needs to learn, you know, the right way of going about it, which is not like, you know, you're entitled to being better than everyone else. You know what I mean? Where it's like, that's not where she needs to learn what greatness is, basically, and that's why she is sent out on this adventure.
Ethno provided a little bit more of what he would see Louis Charles possibly going through. Maybe his father was the only one willing to actually accept that Louis Charles could get better, hence why he kicks him out, hoping it would help him. But the rest of the family actually hates him. So if the father dies, it's going to be 100 times harder to prove to himself to the family. See, that's really cool, because you're fleshing out family dynamics, and I think that really speaks a lot to Louis's character. Why does his family hate him? Why is he so despised, even though they're blood? And I mean, obviously, like the saying goes, you know, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. But at the same time, like, typically you have a very close relationship with your family. Why is it that they're so separated? I think these are really great points to actually think about when it comes to this character and how this trope is played out. And at least, go on.
A while back, but like I said, I watch these like character creation videos and stuff, and I watched a video by one YouTuber. I think it was called something like 5 questions to ask when you're making your character or whatever. And one of them was, in fact, like, who are your character's parents?
Yes, and he showed me this video.
This is because who your parents are, like, that defines what morals you grew up with, what influences you grew up with, you know, like what your parents instilled in you, what you're like, even if you're playing like the orphan character, you know, like, do you have any ties that will come back to get you? Or even if you don't will never have connection to your blood parents in that character, they were still raised by someone. Like, what, like, just having those parental figures or figures that raise them, like that, in like whatever your childhood was like in that regard, like is important to consider, because that sort of leads up to the character that they currently are and can set them on their quest to either needing to change that, like are they going against their family, or like because they realized they were instilled with bad morals, or did their family instill them with very good morals, so now thanks to their family they can go out and like make a good change in the world. Like there's a lot to play with there.
Yeah, there's a lot. All right. Now I'm gonna give everyone. That was fantastic. I love looking over some of these characters. They're gorgeous. If you guys still want to submit a character, the Google Doc is up. I'll be refreshing it later on. But we're actually gonna go on to a host challenge again for tropes. But thank you guys very much. This is very great, and I do highly recommend, if you guys want to start making a character that you want to really delve into the character, try something like Luis Charles. Great option. Hell, speaking of people dying, maybe Gremdoc could die. Oh no!
Gremdoc passing on the torch of the tavern.
Yeah.
That would be so sad.
It would be. All right, guys, close your eyes. Everyone close your eyes. I'm setting up a scene for you. You ready?
All right, here we go. If it's another fucking weed joke.
It is I, sir. No, I'm kidding. So, you're in a tavern. It is quite busy, and you are sitting kind of on the side of your own. You have a big pint of ale in front of you. It's a busy tavern. The barkeep knows to leave you alone. They see you here quite often. You come in here at least once a night. You buy your pint. You have a normal food order, and they bring out your food order to you with almost no one really ever talking to you. But you see bounding up the stairway a younger individual who reeks of newbie beginner. And newbie beginner, like a newbie beginner adventurer, like first adventure, right? And you see someone bounding up into the tavern. You've never seen them here before, but they seem to have a paper in hand, and they come rushing at you, saying, "I need your help on this quest." Your character is not a fan of this, because your character is a lone wolf with a tragic backstory that does not work well in groups.
Oh, here we go.
But you just had a sprightly young beginning adventurer bound up to you, excitedly saying they need your help on this. And you probably see the quest. The quest is like fighting 3 level 3 goblins. Like, it's nothing a big deal. You've been on adventures like this before, but you're a lone wolf. Doesn't do backstory well. And for whatever reason, this brand new adventure, does somehow convince you to join in with them. So, take a moment. Think about this, like, lone wolf. I put long wolf. Oops. Take a moment to think about this lone wolf guy with a tragic backstory. Once again, it could be male, female, transgender, doesn't matter. You guys make this. This is a trope that we see oftentimes played, and like, it is a trope that, if done wrong, can actually be quite a bit of a pain in the butt for a DM and for a party. So we want to think, how are we making this lone wolf a both party player as well as like an interesting character?
Yeah, so something I wanted to say, like, as soon as you brought this up, is with characters like this, it's not super recommended for beginner role players. Like, even I did kind of like a distant character for my first one.
Yeah.
And it's something you've got to realize is, just because your character is a lone wolf, you as a role player cannot be that lone wolf. Like, this is a tabletop game, so that's one of the pitfalls you got to watch out for, and something I try and do, because I like to make characters that are a bit standoffish and stuff, and something I try to do at the very least is check in with others and be like, by the way, if anything they're saying is like off-putting to you or is making it difficult for you to interact with them, let me know and I will change the character. And I think that's an important thing to like put out in the first place, is like you have to realize that like at the end of the day you're sitting down to like play a game with people, so you have to build in some flexibility that will get your character to go along with this. And that's kind of what we're doing in this exercise here. But like you have to, like, you know, if your character says no to something that the rest of the party is saying yes to, like it's kind of your responsibility at the very least to come up with something that would get your character to say yes, to tell that to the group out of character so that they can pull in your character at the very least. That's what you need to do, be willing to do at times. And because at the end of the day, telling a story together, that's kind of what you got to do.
This is a D&D isn't just a game, it's actually a collaborative story. So that's what the most important part about D&D is. That's actually why I want to touch on this prompt very specifically. So if you guys have a lone wolf you want to make, feel free to go to those channel points and submit your tropey character. Or if you want to submit a trope for us to try to make a character out of, feel free to submit a trope as well. They both cost 1 channel point and they'll be refunded almost immediately because I just want to make sure I have a list of the characters so I can basically see what it is. But if you want to make a tropey character based off this, please do. I would love to hear your ideas. But yeah, exactly as Katie said, it is a collaborative storytelling effort, and it's not The Witcher, it's not Skyrim, it's not. If you want a lone wolf game, you want to play a video game, or you want to play one of those really cool like choose your own adventure books. I love those things. I have like 4 of them. From like the 80s actually. But the thing is, when you make a lone wolf for a collaborative storytelling project, and it can actually work, and it worked well with Katie's character actually, who was kind of a lone wolf, kind of not really. It was a really weird situation. You have to think of how do they interact with people and what are their gives that kind of all characters can move around with. So as an example, I think the easiest give to think about is money, right? If you want to make a quick idea, a lone wolf that's motivated by money for some reason might be a way of basically being like, hey, listen, we know you're a seasoned adventurer. You have all this wisdom beneath you. If we give you 50% of the rewards and the other 3 of us take the other 50%, split it amongst ourselves, will you come and aid us? And that might be a way of enticing the player's character to basically be like, okay, that is enough. Or I want to know why they're horribly socially awkward, Silver. Then tell me.
I mean, Thane was horribly socially awkward.
Yeah, that's basically what Thane was. But yeah, Ethno saying the lone wolf, as in the start. Ethno's thinking about growth. Like the lone wolf could try using the new adventurer as kind of cannon fodder in a way, but slowly starts to like them more. I think that's definitely a fun way of going about it.
I have a fun idea.
All right, Katie, let's I know James hasn't spoken, but James, if you want a moment to think more, we can give it to Katie now.
Or did you have an idea, James?
I have an idea. It's a little goofy, but
do it. Fucking do it. Yeah, I want the goof.
Come on.
Full fantasy world, werewolves, vampires, witches, oh my.
Okay.
Okay.
It's in my world. It's in my head. I'm imagining it.
All right. This lone wolf is a werewolf.
God damn it. Fuck you. We're silencing you. Bye. No, I'm kidding.
And he has no pack.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing about lone wolves. Wolves are social creatures. Lone wolves got to get their pack eventually.
Yeah. Continue on, James.
But in this world, the werewolves are hunted for their fur.
Ooh.
So, so essentially, they can't really form packs because that would bring more attention to them.
Oh.
So this lone wolf saw his lover get caught, and he was ultimately the one responsible for his lover's death. and so that's where his tragic backstory comes in. And the reason why he doesn't like to work well in groups, well, obviously, you work in a group of werewolves, you're probably going to get hunted and killed. So this kid that comes in, right?
Yeah.
He senses something in the kid, but he can't put his finger on it. And he goes and helps him fight the ghouls. This small adventure, and he actually was the boy thought that he was in danger because he got like knocked to the ground in this ghoul fight. And so something triggers in the boy, and like he uses this magic power that he doesn't even know about, and he knocks out all the ghouls with this magic power. And so he's like, and so the lone wolf guy is like, if I can train this boy, he could be my protection, and I could actually, form a wolf pack with this boy as a weapon.
Oh, I thought you were going a different way. I thought you were gonna say the boy was a werewolf, but like the fact that this lone wolf is actually seeing the young adventurer as an asset is very interesting. Because like I'll say this as well, you have two different tragic backstories, right? You have the one about his partner, and you have the one of the world as a whole. The world as a whole does not like werewolves and hunts them for their fur. You have a Cruella de Vil 101 Dalmatians situation here where he can't live safely. And so there is a huge level of loneliness for a social creature that is forced upon the entire race of lycanthropes. And depending on your lore of this world, if it's lycanthropy where he could kind of like change his form at will, or if it's only at full moons, like you have these two different situations where he either cannot express himself personally and like he cannot express himself as a lycanthrope and be who he really is, but he also, or he cannot, like he has to keep these natural things about him hidden on one day of every month, essentially, or 2 days of every 2 months. So like you have depending on the environment, you have two very different stories, and depending on how the world reacts to werewolves and how the child or the young adventurer reacts, you have a whole bunch of different stories as well, which is so interesting.
Thank you. I was like, I started it out in like a goofy way, but then once I actually started talking about it, I was like, wait, this could actually be.
Well, that's I think how a lot of things happen. Is you can take sort of goofy or silly concepts, and if you treat them seriously enough, you can still make a good story out of it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And maybe he keeps the secret from the child for as long as he can. But then, one thing leads to another. Bam, they're in a clearing together, and he's turning into a werewolf.
The dramatic reveal. You gotta have a dramatic reveal.
Yes.
So here's my question to you, James. So your character right now is seeing this child, this magical power, as an asset, and that's valid because of how he's kind of been raised in this world, right? My question to you is, over this time that he spends with the child, or I keep saying the child, I keep saying the Mandalorian and the fucking child.
I was actually going with the child route too.
Okay, cool. So spending time with the child. My question is, over time, how do you see their relationship evolving, or what paths do you see the relationship evolving as? Ethno actually brought up a good world point that might actually help with development. Why are they being hunted? Ethno suggests maybe there's an evil vampire empire who just has a bunch of werewolf hunters because of the vampire versus werewolf kind of mentality, and maybe that's why werewolves are so hunted for their fur. It's more like a trophy, kind of like how I'm gonna go back to Avatar: The Last Airbender, being the dragon of the West or whatever, or being Iroh the dragon. Hey, A shout out to my Magic. Thank you very much for the raid. Hey guys, my name is Botanist Cool. I'm here with a few of my friends talking about D&D and turning tropes into fun and enjoyable playable characters. So yeah, so maybe this vampire empire hunts wolves for their wolf pelts and they're fancy and rich and all that stuff. So my question for you, James, after you've made this lone wolf werewolf, how do they treat the child, and how does he and why, I guess, are the werewolves being hunted?
All right, so I really like this vampire antagonist.
Yeah.
And I like the idea. Did you watch Madagascar 3?
No. What are you bringing us on right now?
Is this the French lady?
Yes, the French lady. And so he's the last of his kind. He's a super rare white wolf.
Okay.
And so she's trying, this vampire antagonist is trying to get him because that's the one werewolf's pelt he doesn't have in his collection. And so everybody that he ever turns into a wolf around, they always see him as a price tag. But then and he gets out, but the kid sees him as just he's like, oh wow, you're beautiful, you must be protected, sort of thing. That becomes his protector, so he doesn't care that he's a white wolf. And he's like, I'm not gonna sell you well because you saved me. They can have be like they had to turn into a werewolf to save the kid.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Raiders, welcome on in. I forgot to say this. If you want to interact with the stream, you're free to interact. We actually have a channel point redemption for 1 channel point, which is just a follow, essentially. To tell us about your tropey characters, feel free to use this current prompt. The lone wolf tragic backstory does not work well in groups, to make your own character. And we're actually going to be talking about how to make this a player character to be in a group setting. So James, you did a fantastic thing. And hey, Magic, please tell us more about your stream. I'd love to hear more about it. Hopefully it went well. What were you playing? Good stuff, man. But yeah, so I like that story, that the child ends up wanting to be the protector and wanting to help the last of the rare albino white-furred wolves, or however you have it, in this vampire empire. That sounds Vampire Empire. That's a band name. The Empire of Vampires. That's a fucking band name, yo.
You think they're heavy metal, but they're just alternative rock.
That's how they make money on the road.
They have a killer name, but their songs are really just groovy.
Oh, gotta be great. Magic, tell us about it. I'd love to hear about your character who had this lone wolf type. Please tell us. But yeah, okay. How about Katie? You tell us your idea of how your lone wolf would have been.
All right, so here's how my character. So their backstory, pretty tragic. They were orphaned at a young age. Mm-hmm. They learned that they couldn't really trust anyone except for the person who took them in. The person who took them in was the big bad evil guy of the whole campaign. So they are on a mission to infiltrate the Adventurers Guild. Ooh. So they don't want to get too close to anyone. They don't because they see everyone as their enemy. But then this spry young peppy kid comes up demanding that they be their teammate, and they're like, well, I got at least I'll be on easy street with this, whatever. And so they go on many adventures together and get closer and closer until the point comes where they either have to betray their new friend or turn against the big bad evil guy.
That's wild, and I love it. See, because once again, I want to point this out. These lone wolf stories basically lend themselves to these lone wolves having to make pacts in some way, as the best way to put it. You have a by the way, ACAT James is James on stream, but you have a character like James's character where there's an inclination just biologically and also just mentally to have a pack and as well as need protection. And then you have a character like Katie's character that almost seems to like not have that ability or that prerequisite of being able to have that pack or friendship, and now they do, and that puts them at a standstill against the person they trusted, being the big bad evil guy, and kind of the rest of the world. And specifically this new partner, which is something very interesting. So I guess my question is for you, Katie, what attracts, besides being easy streaming, maybe getting some money, what about, I guess, the new preppy character really attracts your character into possibly considering betraying the big bad evil guy?
So this is sort of a thing where they never, like, I'm sure Big Bad Evil Guy was all about the tough love, so they grew up with the very tough love mentality and also a bit isolated. So they didn't really get the chance. So, like, at first they think this person's, like, too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're too innocent, too giving, and maybe they are in some ways, like this person's like naive, they're weak, all that good jazz. And but they start getting sort of like affection and a genuine, like they're being genuinely cared for by this person, and like maybe they just have the sort of puppy dog eyes that become harder and harder to say no to, the more they see them. It starts off as like minor things where they're like, oh, can't we go to this bar, please, come on. Like, it's like, all right, it's just going to be a pain to argue with you, let's go after this. And then it becomes a thing, after they do a campaign thing, like eventually they don't even need to ask anymore because they know it's just going to be asked, so they just go together. And they just start to form this friendship that like starts off as a thing of annoyance, but then the more they travel together, the more they get a new perspective on things. Like the world itself, they see it through fresh eyes, through this new perspective that they weren't raised with, they never really got the chance to see before. You know what I mean? Like they never got the chance to stop and smell the flowers, or like, hey, look up at the clouds, what do you see there? It's like, what, it's clouds? It's like, no, come on, play this game with me type thing. You know what I mean? Like it's this very innocent perspective, but it's a new perspective that has them seeing the world in a new way, and they're suddenly not so sure if the old way was correct or something they want to keep up.
That's radical. I love it. We just had two very different lone wolf characters. I'm going to be right back, but I want to leave you two with this topic. Miagic is telling us about one of their tieflings. She was a tiefling that was a sort of sorceress spell thief. She had a background of neglectful parents and ended up being a black market dealer for magic items. She played like a bard, had the backstory of a rogue, but was a sorceress. Wow, that's wild. She was overconfident, cocky, but sly and enthralling. She saw the party as mutual benefits, and for her being sweet talker, if only it made sense for her to be over the top. And then they continue, lone wolves that are over the top of acting like they're better than you, then fail constantly is such a funny gimmick. So you guys feel free to talk about that for a second. I'll be right back. I trust you guys fully, 100%. I'm probably not going to see the stream on fire. I'm going to come back. Everyone's going to have the fire emote just to fuck with me. I'll be right back. 1 second, all right?
Yeah. Hold on, let me see. Yeah. So, hi, Magic. So, I actually have a tiefling character as well. In many ways, she is kind of, I think, a lone wolf of the group. She is a warlock, so tiefling sorcerer, tiefling warlock. So tieflings are cool. for sure. So she's kind of the lone character of the group too. She's very nervous about getting close to people. Oh my God, James, want to become famous?
What?
In the chat, there was a bot. Sorry, but yeah. So I definitely think that tieflings, they're fun because in the traditional lore they have that sort of society doesn't trust them, so they don't trust society type thing going on. So they, along with a lot of races that depending on the world setting and everything, have that sort of suspicion towards them. Yeah, exactly. It feels kind of organic for the race. So
somebody get a fire emote ready.
Get the fire emotes ready. I just came back in. I'm gonna riot, right?
Riot.
So Steph, just to give context, I was just like, hey, I have a tiefling who's kind of a lone wolf too. And we were talking about how yeah, some races lend themselves well to that lone wolf character. Yeah, especially if it's hammy. Yeah, exactly. I think the thing that makes lone wolves work is when you make the character, you have to go in with the idea that they cannot stay this lone wolf.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They will succumb to the power of friendship eventually. So you said that your character got along really well with their party. You know what I mean? So yeah, it starts off as mutual benefit or I'm better than you, but whatever. But by the end of it, they will have friends, whether they like it or not.
Yeah. I think that's a good. I think that's a good route to take lone wolves too. It's I've legitimately been trying to think of how can you keep a lone wolf through an adventure, because
you can't.
Because the thing is, yeah, you're going through this adventure and you're really looking after other people and what have you, and people are looking after you. It's very hard to stay a lone wolf, and I could definitely see a level of a lone wolf being more along the lines of
an introvert.
Yeah, not per se staying a lone wolf, more along the lines of just kind of have a fantastic night, Silver. Thank you very much for talking with us. I loved your character idea for Sir Jerome. It was great. If you ever want to submit more tropes characters, feel free to come on in and use the current prompt and type in the background. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I hope to do many more of these streams. They're so much fun for me. So I can definitely see there being a level of introversion where it's they need a little while to themselves and then they come back for an adventure, but I can never see them ever actively not working with groups again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right,
well, a lot of introverts are kind of forced. In a lot of settings, a lot of these lone wolf characters are forced to be introverts. In my example, if my character was extroverted, he'd be a lot more likely to get caught.
Yeah.
And so he's forced to be introverted, and I think that's a good way for you to give him character development. He's he can finally be extroverted with this kid, and actually because he's he was the tough wolf in the bar. Nobody knew who he was, and he was just this big brooding guy.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to approach him.
Yeah, although Magic seems to be giving a different perspective, saying that their lone wolf character is an attention hog.
Yeah.
So it's sort of less of the lone wolf type thing and more of the almost like an Ojo-sama. You know what I mean? But I get it. They don't and that's always interesting too, because at the end of the day, you need friends or someone to get through through the day with. So it's going to be an interesting lesson for those characters to learn, the value of having a connection of someone who doesn't kiss the ground that you walk on, who points out your flaws, but who has your back in the end. Yeah, other people are competition or under her. Yeah, so like you have those haughty characters. Like Annalisa was not a lone wolf, but she has not my tiefling character, but the rich girl forced to go on an adventure because her parents kicked her out because she's too rich.
Yeah,
and too spoiled. But like. She's got to learn, like, not to just, like, speak down to people, not to just, like, too rich. Yeah, I misspoke there. She's too rich for me, but, like her parents are actually quite, like, they've got heads on their shoulder. Like, they're rich for, like, halflings, which is, like, they're very rich, but halflings are kind of, like, modest folk to begin with, so, like, whatever. But she is, like... spoiled, and like it's not that she can't care for other people or something, but like she's got to learn, like her, like her status, like isn't the end all be all of who she is, like, and so like we're getting a little off topic for lone wolves, but yeah.
See you later, Magic, and thank you very much for your opinion. Because, like, once again, lone wolf, it's a very good point. Lone wolf doesn't necessarily need to be. If we think about, like, as someone who believes people are under them, lone wolf does not necessarily need to be like someone who's introverted. It's a good point. It could be an extrovert who's kind of ostracized themselves by accident. So, like, with that new idea, I'm kind of thinking like. You have a haughty new shot adventurer, right? They kind of come up, they did one thing really well, right? And they feel like they are the shit of the town. They are the best. They're all that in a bag of chips. And for the first few kind of like adventures, everyone wanted to be with them and everyone wanted to understand them and see how they worked. But after that, it was more along the lines of, yeah, we actually kind of are pissed off being with this individual. They are annoying as shit. All they do is talk about themselves, and while they're an extroverted individual, they actually are a bit of a prick, and as such, they're not a lone wolf by choice, but perhaps a lone wolf by society because they've been ostracized by themselves. I think that'd be a very interesting idea to play a lone wolf with. And over the span of a couple of years, maybe they just don't remember and can't work well in groups because people stopped working with them.
I don't know, just suggested one about a cult member. And I feel like that's like similar to what I was saying, like with the big bad evil game character, where this character is a lone, Ethnos character is a lone wolf that praises God and needs to sacrifice all the time, but now they don't want to sacrifice.
Yeah, let's I'm gonna read it out in full context. What about a lone wolf that is a cult member that praises a god, and every month or so, every member searches for someone to sacrifice to their god, and they do so by tricking people into thinking they're going to be on an adventure when in truth they're leading them to the cult base. But this one member starts to like a person they picked on to sacrifice to the journey, and in the end refuses to sacrifice them, angering the cult and their god. And so, I like that. See, Botanist gets it. Extroverts, lone wolves are silly. They're silly, but they could be tragic. I love it. But yeah, no, that's a pretty. I mean, that definitely has. That's some pretty. Those are some wild vibes for a completely like. Yeah, that's like as Katie suggested, that big bad evil guy trope, like being adopted by the big bad evil, being adopted by a cult. Definitely a very similar vibe. I love it.
Yeah. These are all fun now.
All right. I think right now we will switch over to another community given character. This one's going to be painful for me because
oh dear.
because literally the person decided I'm gonna rag on Steph for a whole fucking character. My stream moderator Kikoi.
What is it, like a buff pirate lady or something?
Okay, first off, you're dragging me for the wrong reason. Just because I simp buff pirate ladies. No, I'm kidding. So let me tell you what the prompt was real quick, and if you guys want to make this prompt as well, I'll put in the prompt in here for you in a second. The prompt is. Right after this raid, I'll tell you what the prompt is. Secretary Bird, thank you for the raid. How are you guys doing today? I hope you guys are doing well. We're doing a D&D stream today, which means we're talking about D&D characters, and the prompt is get raided, loser. Thank you very much for the raid. Secretary Bird is a great streamer. He ends up playing... It has been a year, Archimedes. Thank you very much for the years of subscription. Thank you very much, Archimedes. I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome on in, everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. We're talking about D&D and making character tropes into characters. So the current trope we're talking about today, and I'm going to read it out to you and you guys, if you want to make this trope, feel free to make this trope and put it in chat. We're going to talk about it. Your character has recently accepted a job. They're currently on a mission from the Dusty Roads Cartography Guild to map out a region of unexplored wilderness. Perhaps they have a team. What wilderness did they choose to explore? Choose a trope from the following list and talk about how it led them here. Friend of nature, academic who never left the university, or actually royalty in disguise. Now, my stream moderator, Koi, decided to fucking dig into me with this one. Bad. And here we go. Their answer was, Stéphane Fromage Flamboyant is a botanist that recently accepted a job to map out the untouched section of the Florida Everglades. As a botanist, Fromage has always wanted to get his hands dirty in the swampland of something, the Florida. But up to this point, he's only ever touched the synthetic painted grass of the university. He's searching for edible plants that could cure cancer or explain why alligators are so big. Along with his trusty seed, Acela, they will travel the murky waters ahead, eating strange plants along the way, all in the name of immortality.
I like this because, in a way, it incorporates all three, if you really think about it.
It really does. Research is all about this.
They've only ever touched fake plants. They're obviously rich.
So that is the prompt. That is the answer to the prompt they gave us. It tore into because that was that they basically were like, hey Steph, let me just shit on you as a botanist for a little bit, Steph. All
right, James, you ready to really just tear into this character? I mean, just really
fucking rip this character to shreds.
The flamboyant really gets me. I'm like, dang, you didn't have to. I was like, dang, what a call out. This is never. So he's a botanist who has never touched a plant.
It looks like he's never left the academy, so all he knows is AstroTurf.
That's great. How is he a botanist?
So he's probably like. So here's coming from the
theory.
Yeah, he knows plant theory exactly. It's all about the plants you don't know. Like jazz, right? It's all about the notes you don't play. It's all about the plants you've never seen.
Theoretically, he knows a lot. It's literally that post where it's like, have you ever like? It's like, have you ever touched a plant? It's like physically, no. like the what's the GIF where it's like, have you ever been to Florida? It's like physically, no.
Mentally, too much, yeah.
Spiritually touched a plant.
Spiritually touched a plant.
Oh my god.
I want him to end up eating poison ivy because he skipped the poison ivy class because he got sick. Oh no! So go on.
I thought it was something else. Steph, what's the closest non-itchy to poison ivy? Go.
I mean, all right. So if you want to talk about deadly plants in Florida, there's a lot. I think the first one...
not deadly. Like, what would be the Uncle Iroh? This is either the most delicious tea or a deadly poison.
Oh, nightshade, because nightshade looks like a lot of other berries, and it is deadly as well. Nightshade looks like a lot of other berries, and ingested too much, nightshade would definitely kill you. But like, if to an untrained eye, nightshade would just look kind of almost like blueberry in a way. And back in the day, I didn't know what nightshade was. I'm like, can I eat this? And they're like, no, you will die. It's like, oh, okay. So nightshade, 100%. Yeah, like nightshade's like, is this a tasty blueberry or deadly poison? Like, you don't fucking know. Poison ivy, more like poison IV. That hurts.
I'm laughing, Steph, that you actually did the Uncle Iroh delicious berry or deadly poison.
So this character, I do want to say one thing. I find that their goals are fucking well. As a botanist, they want to do alligator research. Which for Florida makes sense. The fantasy land of Florida.
I mean, it's clearly the alligator plant. It's a plant monster that comes from alligators, or vice versa. Alligator monster that comes from a plant.
Ooh.
Plantigator.
If he's researching these plant alligator things, is he an investigator?
I mean, literally or spiritually.
If he's lost in the Everglades, if he's lost in the
like just wandering the same like 1 mile square area, like in circles. Like there's like a house like 2 miles away, but he's just lost. Do
you think if that's the case, do you think he's a really bad navigator?
Hold on. He has his horse, so he's just following his horse. But not only can you not, or you can lead a horse to water, but a horse can't lead you to water, apparently.
Every plantigator is immortal, so he's researching them to try to find out the... Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, so we've now kind of narrowed it down. He's heard of plantigators in his university, and that they're immortal. So he wants to find out what makes them immortal, and that's how she goes to the fantasy Florida Everglades to research why the alligators are immortal and so big, alongside his trusted seed, Asila.
Wait, if this is modern times, why does it Steed?
Say again?
Like, okay, I find the Steed is very funny to me.
Yeah,
because like, oh, we're in modern times with colleges and botanists, and now you have a trusty Steed.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they were definitely digging in on me being my college experience, but like, I could also imagine some fantasy time too.
Yeah,
but I like, or we could go the Good Omens route, where they have the 4 horsemen ride in on motorcycles. So the steed could just be a motorcycle.
My steed is just a really shitty 1990 Mercedes-Benz passed down from my grandmother.
Well, no wonder he's been stuck in the Everglades trying to drive that around the Florida wetlands or whatever.
This is such a great trope. I fucking love it. I just imagine
just like sitting there chewing on a long blade of glass, just being like, me and what's the name of
Asila?
No. What's the name of his steed?
Asila.
Oh, Asila. I thought there was something. Okay. It's like, me and Asila, we've been trapped here for years. And it's just like, you look down the road and there's like a repair shop. And it just looks back and it's just like, if only there is a way.
God, he calls this motorcycle Rainbow. Oh, God, no. Oh, yeah, this character's a fucking meme, but like, I think as a here's the thing, right? I see this definitely as a comic relief character, and I love it. But at the same time, like, you know how you have, I'll give you an example. The Adventure Zone made Taco, right? And Taco was a character that had taco prophecies to make the actual taco, right? Like the real life taco in fantasy world. Like this feels like that. Like we're at the very end of the campaign after like a year or two thing, like he will find the Plantigator. And the Plantigator will be like the answer to his magical powers or some shit like that. Like
I just thought of something really sad.
I'll go for it. Tell us.
What if the Plantigator is just like a plastic plastic plant alligator, but so it's fake, and that's why it's immortal because it's not real, so it can't die. So
Oh my god!
But he's able because he's so used to touching the fake plants. He knows.
Everyone thinks it's real, but they
Right?
Stop. Wait, hold on. What if? Okay, Secretary Bird gave me a great. Ethel gave me a great idea. There could be an evil botanist guild called the P Ivies. Hold on. Wait. Ready? What if the P Ivies, right? Like they are this evil botany guild. They want to scare people out of the Everglades because they're not actually a botany guild. Right? They are actually a group that wants to develop the Everglades, right, into commercial real estate. We're getting to Captain Planet territory here, but let's go with it, right? And as they try to do that, they put out this Plantigator as like a big bad thing. Like we have to destroy the Everglades because the Plantigators will come and get us. And everyone's really scared of them and shit, right? But Stéphane Fromage Flamboyant is a expert, not in plants, but in, well, he wants to be an expert in actual plants, but he's actually an expert in faux plants. And as he goes and finds this mysterious Plantigator, he tries to wrestle it to like keep it down and understand it. But as he touches it, he realizes it's just AstroTurf. And because of this, he brings the proof to the public showing that the P Ivy group is actually evil.
And apparently, according to Secretary Bird, Plantigator, within Plantigator, the fake Plantigator is also the cure to cancer.
Oh. P Ivy just put it like a vial of the label, the cure to cancer. We've been hiding this for a while.
They tried to drown it so that they could make profits in something, blah, blah, something evil.
Stefan also has to be the master of plant puns. Like he's going out on a mission and he'd be like, this'll only take a minute.
Oh my god.
I'll only be out for a little while.
Where's my cricket sound effect?
Wouldn't you look at this Plantigator? It's gorgeous.
Bored. Oh my god.
Listen, you keep going on like this, Stefan. We're gonna have to leave the stream.
Oh my god.
Sorry. I'm very sorry for that. Let's not.
Stop.
Oh boy, let's stop for a second.
We were all rooting for you.
Just the timing of just like James is like, all right, we're all done now. I don't think so. He knew we were getting tapped out. He had to wait for us to get our second win.
I'm gonna match you a question. Oh, these are good. Oh man. Okay, so we've created this character. This character is a master punologist of plants. Knows all the theory of. Say again?
It's like, we got it. Oh, you go, James.
You want a piece of me?
Oh, the good old Fabiace. Oh, I love it. Okay, I'm good now. Oh shit, that was
Okay.
good.
All right.
Bro, sequel is a group of treasure hunting. Okay. All right. What did you want to say, Katie?
I forget.
All right. There is one more trope that we had someone turn in now, and don't forget, guys. I will post these before every Fantasy Cool stream. I will post a I will post a link of for this thing, and you guys can submit your own that we could talk about for sure. Or if you want, you can submit it during the stream itself. But this goes back to the barkeeping apprentice topic, where this person decided to make a little bit of, once again, Kikoi. I don't know if they were tired or not, but let's talk about what they said. All right, the new prompt is up here. The rival school is cauliflowers.
Oh my god.
Oh god, I love it. Oh, please continue with these. I am so happy. What Kikoi's put in. So here's the trope again. Your character is a barkeeping apprentice in a small tavern at the town of Ayrshire. Ayrshire is a famous town for it's famous for its taverns, local craft ales, and joyous festivals that occur at least once a month. It's a bustling and lively town full of tourists and traders. The locals enjoy the constant tourism and tend to raise the prices of goods during the busy seasons. These adventurers come to rest their weary bodies at the local inns and partake in the festivities while off the clock. Choose one of the following tropes. Either a spoiled teen who never worked a day in their life, a rogue with ulterior motives, or a person of few words. This person, with I believe a person of few words. Amanda Laurie Ann is a person of few words working as a barkeeping apprentice. She took this position to gather intel from the locals about a child she is seeking. While patrons chat away, she puts on a sweet smile and lets them ramble about their days to her. She doesn't have to do much else but smile and keep their drinks full. The barkeep she's apprenticing under doesn't know much about her life outside the bar, but they never bother to ask anyways. When everybody leaves for the night, Amanda wanders the street listening for anything that could give her a clue as to where to find that child was taken from her. Someone passing through is bound to say something eventually. Texas Uni. I think this might be loosely based off The Mandalorian.
I don't know what gave you that impression.
Just loosely and vaguely based off The Mandalorian.
That's honestly really, really not nice to the person who wrote this. This is obviously a brand new idea.
I have not seen much of The Mandalorian, so I was just straight up thinking like something like a mute mother who's looking for her lost child.
Please expand on that. That sounds really interesting. Go talk to us.
That's what I had so far. So like, I've played characters a few words before. Fane barely said anything. The thing about characters with like few words is if they don't speak much, it's still important to give things that they can work off of. So like tells or something. So like, if a character's fully mute, they should still have sign language, or they should still like like they still have body language, so they can still react like that. So I just think of this woman that like, she doesn't speak much. Maybe she does have some like spy potential, because people like tend to look down on these things. Like maybe they don't hear her talking, they kind of have a tendency to forget she's there. So maybe she's kind of a spy. Maybe she had to like leave her child behind to keep them safe because she was on a dangerous mission or whatever, and now she's trying to like find what's happened to them. Like maybe they were like taken somewhere, or maybe like they were taken in by like her enemy or whatever, like knowingly or unknowingly. Maybe they were unknowingly adopted by her, by like the opposition. So like now they're like some sort of like up and coming soldier or chosen one, and she's actually like the mother of like the chosen one, but the chosen one for the wrong side. So like she's now trying to like hunt him down.
I know, I'm watching these puns come up too, and I'm just kind of like, God damn it.
Oh no, I was just laughing because I'm like, this is getting like corny. I haven't been reading the chat because I've been thinking, but yeah, that's kind of like me just throwing stuff to the wall and seeing what sticks. But
yeah. That's interesting because, like, don't get me wrong, James and I had the bias of the Mandalorian, especially since this person's name is a Mandalorian.
Oh my god, I'm dumb. I didn't even know.
So we had that big bias, but you actually had this really interesting idea of a mute mother who was, or a spy who was on a mission and needed to. That's actually really cool because like you came up with this really cool off of a meme. You came up with this really cool idea of what this character.
The best characters get created that way.
Yeah.
Just off of memes. You
100%.
Suddenly take it seriously, and then you go with it, and they become great.
Yeah. For sure, I definitely think so. I like that idea a lot, especially like. For whatever reason, she might be mute, whether it just be...
I was imagining just born that way, but...
Yeah. But it's just kind of cool, because, like, that's a really neat idea to kind of work with. I actually played with a mute character to start with. She was a necromancer. She could not speak, and so she actually wrote with the elements around her. And the party actually tried killing her because she was an NPC, by the way. The party actually tried killing her because there was some necromantic stuff going on, but it was actually a necromancer framing that necromancer. She didn't do anything else. She was just living her life with like a few skeleton servants, just enjoying life in the wild. But like, due to the other evil necromancer framing her, they almost killed her, and they had to wait for her to literally write in fire, like, what the fuck's going on, like what's happening. You know what I'm saying? I forgot her name. It's been so long. She's actually in the same world as the Necrodancer, but I don't know where she is now. If I'm being honest, she's one of the characters I have not thought of where they are. But the basil patties.
Jesus.
Oh, that fiddle's coming with all the good puns. Yes. So I don't actually know where she is now. I know she's somewhere. But she's actually part of the Carlocks too, funny enough. But she ended up but like playing a character with that inability to communicate in some way is a very interesting thing. So like playing a silent person, whether they be silent because they're mute or silent just because they just don't talk a lot, is always an interesting thing. And like you were saying, they need to have some sort of tell of some sort, whether it be physical or kind of body language or whatever. Like there definitely needs to be some way to communicate. For that character, it was writing in fire and earth and what have you. For Fane, it was a lot of the small things. But yeah. What if the mother got her tongue cut out?
Communication issues because like his whole thing left him sort of unemotive as well as kind of a boy of few words, which made him communicating difficult sometimes. So it probably wasn't my smartest choice for like starting off learning how to like role play with people, but like I still love the heck out of him, and he's he became much different after his story got resolved, but yeah, these characters are like interesting.
So Secretary Bird saying, what if the mother got her tongue cut out as punishment for her spy history? He was saying that he only listened to half of it, so he doesn't know if that would do a thing, but like that might be an option.
Yeah, it could be. It could. Like I said,
maids are cleaning service.
God damn it. Like having it cut out, like that could also be a thing. Like maybe she's no longer suited to be a spy, and that's why she's looking up on her child now, is because now her tongue's been removed. They don't think she's good as a spy anymore.
Yeah.
Like they're got that ableism going on. So now she's looking for a child, but to find her child, she has to use all her spy abilities, thus proving she is a good spy still.
Fuck yeah. Fuck ableist. God damn, that's a good story. I like this story.
It's kind of like Daredevil.
Oh my god, it's kind of like Daredevil. With instead of with losing like your sight, you're losing your speak. Oh my god, that's a good point. Yeah. All right. I have one more prompt for us to work with today. And hey guys, I do want to show out the Discord channel a little bit. At the end of the day, or maybe at the end of the weekend, I will be posting the poll for subscribers for the next prompt that we will be doing for the D&D Fantasy Cool stream. And it can range from a lot of different things. I have a few ideas, and if there's a tie there, I'll be putting the poll actually to the public, or kind of just like minimizing, see what the top 2 results are, and then putting those top 2 results to the public. We'll see what goes there. And I'll actually be putting up a Google Doc for that too. I want to try to do this every once in a while, see if I can do it once a month at least. I want to make more Dungeons and Dragons content. If you guys want more Dungeons and Dragons content, or at least story creation content, please do tell me, because if you guys, god damn these puns, amazing. If you guys really like this kind of stuff, I really want to give it, because this is honestly like 90% of my life, in terms of like I walk around at work and I'm thinking about world building and creation and stuff like that. And it's just something I really enjoy making. So if you guys enjoy it, please tell me, and I would love to make more. And I'll see if I can invite Katie and James on for future ones as well. But yeah, so I'm gonna have one last prompt for us, and this one is going to be a bit of a doozy. In other words, I actually have a character prepared for this prompt for myself, right? Hold on one second. I'm gonna type down the prompt. All right, you are a. All right. Here's the situation, right? Take this character however you want. We see. Close your eyes. Imagine.
I don't want to dry out my contacts, but I'll imagine.
Okay. The time to. God damn it! That's amazing. There is a young adventurer. Perhaps they've been on a few adventures. Perhaps they've just recently. Perhaps they just are on an adventure right now. They're going throughout the area, looking for their quest, and they happen upon an individual. This individual seems to live on their own, seems to be by themselves, but at the same time seems to be aloof and absent-minded, and just kind of a little bit of a hermit of some sort, right? As I look upon this individual, the individual invites them in for a cup of tea and some time to relax, because they say, "Oh, you look like you're on an adventure. Come with me. Talk to me about your adventure." The adventurer starts talking to them about their adventure, and the old individual says, "Oh, let me help you." And the young adventurer goes, "No, I've got it. You are too old to help." And in some way, shape, and or form, the old individual proves to the young adventurer that by basically kicking their ass, either physically, mentally, or emotionally, in some way, shape, or form, that they are actually kind of like a wise mentor. Think about it like this. Make your version of Yoda. And I actually have so current prompt: old, wise, aloof, teacher, and hermit. Make your version of Yoda. And I actually have one for this that I made as a meme. So as y'all know, I'm Greek, And recently I've been listening to, just for the fun of it, Zorba's Dance, the Greek dancing. And I thought, okay, I have this idea. And this is going to be a character you guys are going to meet in the next fucking campaign, by the way. His name is Zorba the Great. He is an old fighter. Very old, very old. People don't know him anymore, but he actually kind of lives on the side of a corrio, or a small town. And as the adventurer passes through the town, I imagine Zorba, Z-O-R-B-A. I imagine that they kind of stop at his hut to get eggs or whatever, and they see this old man dancing, right? He just kind of dancing, and they go, oh, why are you dancing? And they go, oh, I've danced my entire life. It is something I use to fight off hordes of enemies that I protected the village with. And they're kind of like, yeah, whatever. This guy's a fucking lunatic. He's crazy, right? And eventually, over time, the adventurer actually is fighting in the village, trying to protect it. And then he sees old Zorba the Great come out. And as he starts dancing, kind of almost like, what is it called? Capoeira. So as he starts dancing, he starts kicking and punching the enemies. It's like, it's almost like, how you have like that drunk monk fighting, but like it's capoeira, where it's like dancing and fighting mixed together. And like, instead of doing a kick where he'd like slap his own hand against his foot, he'd kick into the enemy's face. And as such, the Avenger's like, holy shit, this guy actually knows what he's fucking talking about. I gotta learn how to dance fight like this guy. And this has been a character I've been playing with for a long time. In other words, a week. And I already have his character progression planned out and how to get him to swashbuckle, get him those unarmed bonuses. It's gonna be great. But like, I just imagine this old dancing teacher kicking the shit out of goblins and orcs because he could dance better than everybody else, and because his dances are so unpredictable, he just beats up enemies. And the young adventurer's like, he's fucking crazy. Like, who knows about this old man can't do anything. And just he proves them wrong the entire time. And like, he goes, you want me to teach you to dance? I'll teach you to dance. And they learn combat through that. I just find it's such a meme, and I love it. Speaking of meme characters, this is all because of one fucking song from Zorba. I love him already. But like, that's my old wise aloof Yoda teacher. What about you guys?
So I have the idea of, like the punk kid, like sort of brushes off this, finds this like old man who's kind of like not, he brushes him off in that way, and then he like goes to take on this one sort of masked sort of like enemy or whatever, and he fights him and gets his butt kicked.
Yeah.
And like he keeps brushing off the old man, and basically I want it to be like sort of like the old man is it like this changeling that is actually the younger man that keeps kicking his ass. so he's actually like an old man, and like when he's in the old man form, dark bratty kid doesn't pay him any mind, but he changes into this other form, and like the kid respects this other form because he's younger and like obviously like showing off and stuff. So like eventually there's that reveal that they're one and the same person.
That's wild. Okay, I really like that. So, oh god, that's wild. So, all right. So for those who don't know what they're here, Katie, basically, for some reason, this changeling goes between being an old man and a younger individual, and they just end up for some reason. So why are they trying to train the adventurer?
So like I feel like maybe like the changeling has been like a hero of justice or for something, so he does like to keep up that appearance. Like if people saw that this like town's protector or whatever was getting old, that might be a sign of weakness, so he changes into this younger form to give the appearance of weakness, and this spry peppy kid wants to come in and wants to like learn under him. So like in some ways the mentor does need like an underling, but he also can tell this kid is like very bratty. So it's like a mix of like the one that he'll respect, but also eventually the idea of teaching him like not to judge people by appearances. And like I think he's training him in two different ways. Like as the older man, he probably gives him like more Karate Kid mentorship versus as the younger man, he sort of like actually like spars with him more and stuff.
All right, I'm digging it.
Pretty cool.
So basically, he's trying to ensure the town has a protector after he passes.
Yeah, like he can sense that the kid has potential, but is like a bratty snot-nosed kid who doesn't know what's good for him. So he's got like, so he sort of like switches between these two forms to sort of like give him different styles of teaching, but leading up to the same thing.
I love it. That's fucking hilarious. That is great.
Like he'll give him like he'll like pose a challenge to him as like the younger man to be like, oh, you can't get over this, you can't climb this giant rock faster than I can or whatever. But then as the old man, he'll sort of like, in Karate Kid fashion, sort of like teach him, like here, like, oh, can you reach this bucket for me? I can't, I'm too weak. Here, if you put your foot here, you can, jump up and get it. So like he's sort of like posing challenges as one person and then teaching him as like giving him soft guidance as the other. Ooh. And sort of like using that to double train him.
I like that a lot, actually. That's really cool. What have you got, James?
Okay, so there's this kid who was told by his father that he needed to go become a warrior, and he has all the tools to become one, but like he overthinks everything. And so one day, he got like beaten in a fight pretty badly, so he was going to the bar and he sees this old barbarian looking guy, literally looks like a Viking, and he sits next to him, and the grumpy Viking barbarian next to him is like, well, it looks like you lost that fight there. And essentially he takes him in under his wing but teaches him how to not overthink in a fight. And like he's the old man, he's like, he doesn't think twice about anything. He charges him because he's a barbarian.
Yeah.
And but the kid is on the sidelines, like just taking copious amounts of notes. But that's the exact opposite of what the old man does. So he like throws his notes away and be like, what you're doing is not how you become a warrior. A warrior follows their intuition and goes in head first. So he has to teach this kid to not overthink everything.
I love this. I love the like subversion. Like there is a certain wisdom of like trusting your instincts and like not like in the heat of battle and all that. Like that's a fun little twist on it.
Because like he's not saying like here's your form of how you fight. It's more along the lines of how to fight, just trust yourself. It's also like you can definitely see this as like a level of like a self-confidence thing, right? Like overthinking too much might be a symptom of this young adventurous self-confidence not being really as high as it could be. And learning under this Viking, basically, like he learns to really accept that he has skill and he knows that he has skill and that he can utilize it really well if he just kind of went with the flow a little bit more.
The good old Shia LaBeouf, just do it.
Is it Shia LaBeouf?
No, because he just does it.
Oh.
Shia LaBeouf. No, this is old Shia LaBeouf. Like he's like an old man.
It's old Shia. He's from cannibal to barbarian.
No, yeah, he's everything. He's not good of an actor.
Oh shit! Wait, what? Did you say besides a good actor?
No, he said. What did you say?
No, he's not good of an actor. He can play everything.
Okay, I thought you said he was everything besides a good actor. I'm like, holy shit, taking shots at Shia LaBeouf. Okay.
I mean, his work in Transformers was iffy.
Transformers its ant to start with.
Leave it a cartoon.
I like that a lot, actually. I know that, like, I remember when it comes to like old, like wise mentors. I remember there was this episode of Samurai Jack, where Samurai Jack needed to learn inner peace and calm, and he learned so by making tea through like this vision of like an old tea master making him do tea, which was kind of wild. And I think that was actually the latest season where he was learning to make tea, and what was her name? Anzu, I think her name was, who was like one of the daughters of Aku, was like protecting him during a fight, as he just kind of meditated and learned to make tea proper, like, which was the way he regained his, sword to defeat Aku. And it was just, I think that there's definitely a level of like, that reminds me a lot of that, because this guy is trying to be like teaching through a very unconventional method, right? And I appreciate that a lot. I really do. Or like even Uncle Iroh, who tried to teach Zuko. Like, one thing that's a fun little fact that a few people I read on in the internet was Uncle Iroh always taught in terms of teaching from other nations and worldwide wisdom. So one thing that airbenders are known to do is thermoregulate using their breathing, right? That's not something that firebenders are as well known as to do, because the prison had a cooling chamber. Quite literally, firebenders are thrown there to be prevented from, using their firebending. But Uncle Iroh, through breathing techniques and relaxing and understanding your body, taught Zuko how to thermoregulate like an airbender. So
and the redirecting lightning was a waterbending technique. I think he says it even directly in the show that
exactly
he's studying waterbenders.
Exactly.
Yep. And he used a lot of earthbending poses when he was doing like his powerful fire, like his short, like really strong fire bursts. He would take like earthbender stances. He was just a really good fighter. Fuck,
I love Iroh so much. Can we just talk about Iroh for like 10 hours?
Because Iroh, he is this. Except he's not. Like, oh god,
he's not a hermit.
He's not a hermit, no.
Yeah, no.
Like, I love that concept, like, of teaching untraditionally. Or here's a great one: Tales of Ba Sing Se, Partbreaker. He teaches like he not only teaches a mugger to actually mug better, but he teaches a mugger how to kind of find that level of self-confidence to not be a mugger.
I like how he also taught the kids how to run away from trouble, like getting in trouble.
I mean, like, the thing about Ba Sing Se, Helen was so sad, is like it points out that it's basically him guiding people at different stages in his life, like he couldn't do for his son. And it was just like, oh no.
That's.
I love Uncle Iroh so much. He's the best. He's
such a well-written character. There will never be, in my opinion, I think it's gonna be very hard to top Uncle Iroh as a character, just in general. Uncle Iroh's character was just so fucking well done.
Yeah,
All the
that as well.
characters.
And honestly, like, I've seen people argue that Uncle Iroh is the reason that Zuko's redemption works as well as it does.
Mm-hmm.
Because, a big point of his character is like, you like Iroh, so you want him to succeed in redeeming Zuko. So there's like, it's not just that you want Zuko to redeem himself, you also want Uncle Iroh to succeed in teaching this guy.
100%.
Like, that has like added weight.
And not
versus like Zula, who like Uncle Iroh wasn't like, please save your sister, so we're all kind of like fine with like, yeah, take
Zuko's just like, I know you want me to see if I could save my sister, and he's like, no, what? She's crazy. Take her down.
The story is also really sad.
Oh, 100%.
Some people say that they were considering a redemption for her, but that they didn't have enough time or whatever, so they didn't.
The comics also kind of ruined it for her.
Oh yeah,
because they essentially made her crazy, like legitimately, like institutionally crazy.
Yep.
And like and she was like kidnapping kids and like trying to and she always thought she saw her mom everywhere.
She kind of made like a little terrorist cell, didn't she?
Yeah.
Poor Azula.
Azula's a very tragic character.
Yeah.
But I think
a good example of someone failing their arc. Take notes.
That's a very good point. It's a very good point, actually. I think
she went like, it wasn't even so much like Zuko and Katara defeating her. Like, she was half crazy by the time they got to her because of all the expectations put on her, and like all of her friends abandoned her because they couldn't stand by her. She didn't learn companionship or that her father was wrong or anything like that. Like, even when Zuko was back and like everyone was like she had kind of a chance, but like she never bonded with anyone, and she kind of like, you know what I mean? Like, she went down the dark path, and like if she was that's an example almost kind of like a failed character arc, where like what can happen to a character when they don't learn the lessons they need to learn.
I really appreciate that in stories when, honestly, like, one thing I like in stories, all right, we're getting a little off topic, but I will say this real quick. One thing I like in stories is when you do have a failed character arc, and Zuko for a while actually had to fail a character arc, and I really appreciated that about him, where he actually failed his uncle's teachings and went back to being his old self, if not a little worse, and was able to eventually overcome that.
Yeah, in a way, it was like, when that happens, in a way, it's almost more meaningful because he got everything he wanted, but because of what he'd gone through before, because of what Uncle Iroh had taught him, because he'd been exiled and had seen things from a different perspective, once he got everything that he wanted, he did realize it was not what he actually wanted. It was not what he actually needed. And like, I think it's interesting when a character like gets to that point, but they've grown so much as a person, like they realize that something is wrong. They had to get it to realize that this isn't what they needed.
Yeah.
And that can be like super interesting.
Well, that's kind of like Zuko's like relearning firebending. Like that whole thing was just like, he's finally doing the right thing, but he's realized he has nothing that's driving him anymore.
Yeah.
It's like his anger was driving his firebending so much. When he tried to use firebending in a less angry mindset, he couldn't. And so he goes on this journey with Aang, and like just relearns that fire is life, and just like fire is sun, and it like just gives him a whole new meaning. And I thought his redemption arc was probably some of the best episodes in the show.
Yep.
I think like those like last ones before the fight where they each go on a journey with him like with Katara and Sokka in the jail. It was like it's like it was interesting after he learned the new firebending. He was kind of the rock of the group because everybody was kind of like I don't know, off their rocker a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Katara full on almost became a murderer, but
and it's a. Can we just Avatar, like, the reason I think we devolved to talking about it on this stream is because, like, that's like Avatar itself is a good example of, like, I'm sure you got like a ton of tropey characters, but the development is
the uptight
so good.
sister,
Did
the goofy brother.
Did Zuko not start as a lone wolf who doesn't work well with others with a tragic backstory?
Yeah, more or less.
Like, that's how he started off.
And Iroh is this old, wise, aloof teacher. He's not a hermit, but, he's everything else.
Yeah, and, like, let me see. I don't know if we have, like, a Sir Jerome character. I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to think, too.
Katara, a little bit.
No.
Yeah. Katara's kind of more motherly, but you have, like, Sokka, comedic relief, but, like, taken seriously. Like, you have Toph, who's just amazing in every way.
Toph is one of my favorite characters by far. In a way, Toph could actually be a little like Sir Jerome. If you think about it, because like, Toph became chief of police.
I'm talking about original Avatar series. I don't
Fair
like
enough.
the direction that some of the adults went in
Korra.
In Korra.
Fair enough.
Korra's good enough in its own way, but I don't really agree with some of the developments that happened.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, like, you can find a lot of tropes there. You have the annoying sister, the comic relief, bit of an asshole dude who's, like, first off, Sokka's growth from, like, misogynist, proud warrior to compassionate and, like, knowledgeable and willing to learn student. Who I think Sokka, even at the end of this trek, realized that he's not done learning. Mm-hmm. And I think he went from a proud misogynistic warrior to a humble, still proud, but like a humble student of the world, and he took the teachings of the Kyoshi warriors. He took the teachings of the airbenders in terms of like avoiding conflict to a degree, and he took the teachings of the Fire Nation's teacher, who I forgot his name already, in so many ways that I feel like that character arc on its own, like every character arc here starts off a trope and has development so well in Avatar: The Airbender. If you really want to, I think Avatar: The Airbender is a really good way to look at some of your fantasy characters when you're making a character and see, like, do you want the opportunity to have a development like this? Like, you never want to think exactly how it'll go, but you want to see, I think what the most important thing about these tropes is see how some of these tropes develop in media and see, like, if you want that lone wolf trope, do you want a lone wolf trope like Zuko had it, or do you want a lone wolf trope like someone like Arthur Morgan, I think was a bit of a lone wolf in Red Dead Redemption? I know he had kind of like a pack with him, but like, kind of worked on his own. Like, do you want like a Western lone wolf? Do you want an Avatar lone wolf? Like, that's, I think one reason why we focus on Avatar was because it has great tropes that have great payoff and development. Even with lesser known characters or less presented characters like Suki, Mai, and stuff. Like, it's great. I want to make a D&D character that just completely fails every arc and never learns anything, and in fact even gets worse. You're making big bad evil guy stuff over here, Ethno. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like I've had, like, I think having the potential for your character to fail their character arc can in fact be fascinating because then there's tension, right?
Yeah.
Then there's Annalisa probably isn't gonna fail her character arc, but the potential's there, supposedly. Yeah. But I don't really see her failing it. But someone like my original character Fane, he had it'd be kind of long to get into, but he had a big potential of failing his character arc, of sort of basic. It's too complicated to explain, actually. But
I'll give a TLDR real quick. Long story short, he's part of a soul of the big bad evil guy, and that's all you really need to know. He's just part of a soul that is the soul of the big bad evil guy, and due to Fane's needs to feel complete, Fane could have in the TLDR of the TLDR. Could have either found some way to make his own identity and make his own soul, essentially, or fuse the soul of the big bad evil guy and become the big bad evil guy. Like those are two super simplistic options. There's multiple more options, but that's one of the ways Fane could have failed that, as an example.
Yeah, you explained it much better than I could have, because I would have gone way too into it. But yeah, that basically sums it up. And like, I went in being like, like, obviously I prefer happy endings, so kind of hoping towards that one, but I was prepared to let it be the other one if that was the way the story went. And my character, Riza, who I've mentioned, I've said several times before, if she winds up going down an evil route because she can't let go of her past traumas, because she can't trust herself she can't trust other people because she thinks that she's only gonna get hurt or lose them, and she goes down that darker route and becomes evil aligned, I will let her do that if that's the way the story goes. So like the only reason Fane didn't go down that path is because the story did develop in a way that he saw all these people ganging up against the big bad evil guy, and basically came to the conclusion that if he became that, then they would all basically, come and stop him as part of the big bad evil guy, and then they'd both be gone. So he was like, hey, listen, man, like, I'm gonna become me. You can become me if you want. He didn't want to, but he was like, you can become me, but if we become you, we're both dead. Which was a very, you wouldn't think that that's like the reason, like the traditional reasoning would be like, no, I'm gonna be my own person, versus it is a way that he did kind of come to that, and he does kind of think of things a little bit differently now that he's kind of forged his own soul.
Yeah.
But like, that's what I mean by like, it just has more like dramatic weight and stuff if you like set up a character arc, and then like obviously you'll probably want to try and push it for one way.
Yeah.
But if you set up the stakes so that there's a potential to fail, it has so much more like dramatic purpose to it, I'll
say this specifically when it came to Fane, like we played with Fane through multiple parties because Fane had a few people in one party drop out and whatnot. Fane originally worked with a character named Ellen, who was a cleric, like a goody two-shoe cleric, a lot of fun kind of deal. And that cleric, like when Fane's moment came to fight the big bad evil guy in a different plane than everybody else, like Fane basically had the support of a lot of people who had in some way, shape, and form made friends with Fane in a way. So characters like Ellen came back, another character named Riley came back in this plane of where the astral projected to, where Fane's character art went from very much so along the lines of having to kind of discover who he was. And what was really cool was like Ellen asked him a question, do you like turtle soup? Because they were having turtle soup one day, and Fane's like, I don't know. And then he tried, he's like, I guess I like turtle soup, and Fane from that point on slowly, extremely slowly and barely noticeably started developing his own kind of wants and needs and persona compared to how he started. And he asked questions that had not been for the turtle soup, basically, like had it not been for these few moments in between, he never would have asked questions like asking the god Caracosa, what does it feel like to be melded into two? Like, I don't feel like Fane would have been as introspective without certain selfishnesses he kind of sort of almost got from learning to have his own opinions in a way. So part of the character's growth is definitely the DM setting up growth. Part of it's the player wanting it to go a different way. And so if you're ever here's some DM advice. If you're DMing, know what your players want. And I knew Katie wanted a good ending for Fane if possible, but wasn't sad with a bad ending. So I set up the stakes to basically be like, both are possible, but in reality, if you really work for it, you'll get a good ending. But both are still possible. And that's something that's very important as a DM. Know what your players want in their characters and try to set that up for them. I had failed that before. Actually, I had failed that recently with another character named Nerja. The player wanted to know more about Nerja's family and their history and stuff. And I actually failed this where I didn't set up a good enough history to really know that, to really present their family as a current thing that they should be focused on, even though they were a very family-oriented character. And I had to kind of save my own ass and the game's ass a little bit by eventually having them read a book of truth that they found out their family was more or less dead. So tip as a DM, know what your players want, and to be fair, that also gave Nerja the closure she needed to continue on the adventure, but still I think I could have done it a little bit better than that personally. That being said, as a DM, know what your players want and how they might see their characters grow, because you're never going to have a 100% like, my character is growing this way. That's not ever going to be a thing. You're never going to know how your character is going to grow. They will change every fucking game until you feel the natural way, and then you're going to go that way. Know how your character is going to grow. Know what your players kind of want as a general guideline, and as a player, know that things will change as a general guideline. Because characters are as dynamic as the people who play them. They change. We got really off topic. I'm so glad we only got off topic at the end, though.
I feel like it's still on topic. Because
Yeah.
in the end, that's the most general advice of all, is at the end of the day, no matter what tropes you choose, it's all in how you play it and how you set things up with other people that will make it come out as something amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And using tropes as more of a guideline than a Bible. And you be ready to be be dynamic and change as a character as you go on, and be open to change. And maybe you're not going to be the lone wolf for the whole campaign.
Or maybe your character learns to humble themselves. Or maybe they learn to be more selfish. Who knows? There's a lot of ways your character could go. You never want your trope to be a cliche. The cliches are no bueno. Don't do it. Yeah.
But even more importantly than that, make sure it's a character that you have fun playing and that others enjoy interacting with, because those two things are the most. Even if you have the most eye-rolly cliche, as long as you're having fun and everyone else is having fun with it, then at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
That's fair. All right, we do have, I think we have one question from the box, actually, and I will read this question before we head on off. Just to think about it. How do you keep track of all your NPCs/PCs? This is a question from Key Koi. And the answer is good fucking luck.
I mean, for me, it just takes up all the real estate that I should be allocating to important life things.
Yeah.
All my characters just kind of live in my head rent free, and they don't ever leave. I still I still think about Fane a lot. I don't think about Zolani a lot because she's kind of a static character. But I still think about her sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll think about Fane sometimes.
I think about Zolani a lot.
I think about the current characters like all the time, and now that I'm starting to DM, I think about 500 characters all the time, rent free, just living there in my brain, waiting to be discovered.
Yeah.
So, and the worst part is I can't even like talk to no one about that.
Being a DM is a very lonely experience sometimes.
Right, I want to be like, Steph, you're a DM, tell me about this, but then I'm like, Steph can't know about them yet. It's so hard. Because it's like, I'm thinking like 10 games ahead, and it's like so rough.
What did you have to say, James?
We have only like 4 characters. And even then, like, all the time, I would, like, use the wrong character name while role-playing. And, like, honestly, it's just, I don't really have any advice on it. It's more of, like, I get you, same.
So, for actual advice, like, I don't really, I mean, something I do as a DM is I write a ton of shit down now. I didn't really do it as a player because only focusing on a single character or whatever, like, and playing that same character game after game after game after game, even when I start to get up a roster of them, I've just spent so much time with that character. I don't need to write things down about them because I know them so well. But for DMing, like for anything like plot wise and stuff, I have to write it down to keep track of because I'm not as good as Steph as improvising. So I need to write down my pieces so that I have them so I can improvise them and direct the story where I want it to go. So for characters, I'd say kind of the same thing. They do have like online apps and stuff. I've tried them. I don't really super find most of them very useful for character tracking. But you could like get like, I don't know, a Word document, jot down. And the important thing is to jot down what you need to know. You know? Like if you know for a fact, like you're 100% going to remember something, don't bother jotting it down. Like you probably don't need to jot down, like if there's a tavern keeper, you know, like she's friendly. You probably don't need to write down has a friendly personality. But if you have trouble visualizing stuff, you might jot down has blue eyes or something like that. Or if they tell them about to go do something as like a lingering plot thread, you might jot down like, you know, like told them about this, like implement into plot ? Like things like that. So like basically if you need to keep track of things, like just get like a document or something, like make different headers or a table or whatever organization works best for you, and then jot down the things that you need to make that character work that need to be written down, that you need to keep track of, and then don't sweat it much beyond that. Don't get too bogged down in the details. Just put down whatever your personal comfort level of it is. You might need 3 bullet points to keep track of. You might need 20. It all depends on what you feel is appropriate.
Don't overthink it. Just go with the flow. Don't overthink it in terms of like because if you overthink and overcomplicate things, you will definitely leave room for the inability to grow. as a story, which is one thing I think is very important is have enough to grow, but don't have enough that there's a static character. One thing about NPCs that I do to keep them really separated is my body acts differently with every character. Like you guys already see when I'm streaming, like I'm a very physically emotive individual. I move my hands around a lot. There are times where I will literally lay down because I have to get into a character's vibe. Like when I'm role-playing the Necro Dancer, I always kind of like lean back and I'm like, yeah, man, all right, change up the voice a little bit. Let's get to the Necro Dancer groove, man. And I start moving a little more sluggishly, and I have this over-exasperated kind of like 1960s hippie vibe alongside me, man. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, was this like advice on how to play the character?
Just kind of keeping them separated. So like that's how I keep them separated. I keep them separated by finding a way to play them.
I thought you meant like how do you remember them?
No, that's exactly how I remember them. Like I remember them through my physical body, like is part of how I remember them, or how the voice is part of how I remember them. Like, how do I play Dracula? I always have these one-handed looks and going around this deep, dark voice that is extremely attractive to everybody who hears it. You know,
yeah, for sure. When I get into like Annalisa, like when I first start playing her, like I put my hands on my hips and I mute myself and I go, ah! Like, and then I'm like, well. That's how I start getting her, and like, yeah, Thane didn't have a special voice or anything, but
he barely had a voice.
You know, like I do like adjust my body language a bit when I do.
Giving your NPCs or your PC's body language with your physical body will help you remember them like no fucking tomorrow, because
it'll also like keep you in character as well, because if you're saying something that doesn't match your body language, like that will just throw up red flags all over.
Anything from you, James?
I mean, I'm not like, sorry, I was in a different world for a second. With Ventral, I don't really, it's more about getting into the right headspace.
Yeah.
When I'm Ventral, because Ventral is completely different than who I am.
Yeah.
And so it's like Ventral is a lot more assertive than I normally am. So, it's like just trying to get into character. It's, you know, at first it was hard, but then once I got like the hang of it, it was, you know, every time I play Ventral, it's like an easy way, like transition now. So, and I only have, like I said, like 4 characters, so I don't have a hard time keeping them separated that way, because I usually write down everything. So
yeah, if you want to make like distinctive characters, which I didn't think that's what this question was, but I did like look up advice on that like a long time, and like I've said this several times, like I watch a ton of like videos on this stuff because I find it interesting. So like I get a lot of advice from there, and you know, like one thing is yes, body language. Another thing you can do is, you know, like not everyone's a voice actor, not everyone can do you know, vocal accents or quirks. However, you can still give them a certain way of speaking. For example, my paladin Solani, who I've mentioned several times, I have her address everyone with their title, and if she does not know their title or they do not have a title, she will call them brother or sister as a sort of a title of respect, and also, you know, we are on equal terms, I am not above you. So she'll come and she'll be like, brother Steph, it is good to see you today, and just it's funny because Steph actually repurposed her as an NPC for something.
I'm about to bring that up, actually.
So the second Steph in that same sort of tone went, Sister Bella. I knew who it was, even though we technically have different voices. It was the same sort of tone, the same way of speaking. So that is another thing, is just the way that they speak, how friendly they are. Do they talk very casually, very lazily, very uptight, high vocabulary, like all these, like how a character speaks lends itself very much to what that character is about and like who they are.
That's actually like that moment was actually something I was so fucking anxious about, because if I remember correctly, it was Nerja and Bella who went up to the celestial plane at that moment.
No, it was Ventral and Bella.
Ventral Bella, thank you. Sorry, I messed up there. It was Ventral Bella who went up to the celestial plane, and Zolani was a character that obviously Katie created, and my thing was, in this world, all the gods had already died, but a new god was made, and the new god was Zolani. Even though Zolani's still alive, I don't know if I'm not gonna say too much, because I don't know if Katie wants to solve the puzzle on her own. So I'm not gonna say too much more than that. But for various reasons, Zolani became a god of redemption. And Zolani, one of the things I was worried about was like, how do I portray Zolani? Because the god Zolani is a little different than the player Zolani 100%, or the character Zolani 100%. For two reasons. One, I cannot play Zolani the same way Katie plays Zolani. But two, also because she's now a god. But the thing is, one thing I had to nail down was I had to nail down the feeling of Zolani. So when it comes to Jerome, who's a lawful good paladin, I always do this, and I have this chest out, kind of pose where it's like, hello, it is I, Sir Jerome, here to save the day. When it came to Zolani, though, I had a much more relaxed pose. It was just kind of like, and I put my hands kind of together, almost like in a, not quite a prayer way, but kind of like a respectful, like, and I go, Sister Bella, Brother Ventral, welcome to the celestial plane. My name is Zolani, the goddess of redemption. And my tone changed to the point of like being respectful, not quite secretarial, but more along the lines of respectful, introductory, and giving those same words. And fucking Katie freaked the shit out that moment that happened, and had trouble with her own part, because she's like, oh my god, what's Zolani's a fucking goddess? What's happening here? But like capturing, like, I was able to capture enough of Zolani's attitude and manner of speaking through Katie that I was able to portray her, not the best, not exactly as Katie portrayed her, but portray her well enough to make her recognizable as Zolani. The same long story. I'm not gonna get into it because the one thing I'm not sure if Katie wants to solve this herself. Same character that had been portrayed, because my world is a continuing world with characters that end up becoming NPCs in the long run. And I played this character called the Connoisseur Carlock, who was actually my player character. Was a player character for my first game, and I had a character 10 years later played from a player who was in that first game who said, I love what you did with the Connoisseur. It makes a lot of sense. That just feels like what the Connoisseur was, and that worked out. So yeah. All right. I think that's a lot, because we've done about 3 hours of streaming. We actually did 3.5 hours of streaming, which is fucking wild, and I had so much fun.
Yeah, and I could go on for ages, because like it is probably a good thing I did not understand the scope of the question originally, because I can go on for hours and hours and hours. But it boils down to getting a certain attitude for them, and also, as I think I've mentioned before, digging into the whys of that character and figuring out what they're about. Because once you know what they're about and their attitude, that's basically what a character is.
Yeah.
And everything else just stems off of that.
All right. I'm going to put on the credit scene now, because I'm getting a little tired, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, me too.
So, first and foremost, I want to say a big thank you to AG for the support. They are one of my best friends. I love them dearly. Check them out on Twitch and Twitter. They are great. A big, huge thank you, of course, to... Wait, where's my credit roll button? Hold on. Oh shoot, no, I dropped my credit roll button. Where's the credit roll? I think thank you to Scott's Network for making my intro music. They are also fantastic. Check them out on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff. I think thank you to my moderators, Colin, Enki, Kikoi, and now Research. Research is a brand new moderator. Fantastic. She's a very active member of the streaming community, of the Botanist Cool community. And I want to thank Loki, Snowy, Katie, and Archimedes for their subscriptions today. If this is your first time listening on in today, hey, make sure to leave a follow and join in the Discord, !Discord. And we will be rating a friend of mine today. We'll actually be rating... Who are we going to raid today? We'll raid a Splatoon 2 streamer. I think we're going to raid... Cause that's pretty much 90% of the... everyone I know. Ooh, I pressed the wrong button. Where's the raid channel button? We're gonna raid Prince. Prince, I think he's actually playing Pokemon Unite, which is the new Pokemon MOBA. So we'll see how that goes. That sounds fucking wild. If you guys haven't already, make sure to leave a follow and join the Discord. I'll have a poll up for the next Fantasy Cool stream, and I am really excited to do it. And I hope you guys are as well. Anything else to say, guys?
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I hope we get to do it again sometimes, and I hope all of you watching make some really fun and interesting characters.
And if you ever want to talk about your characters, please talk in Gen Chat about them. It's going to be a blast, all right? Anyways, y'all stay safe, stay Botanist Cool. I'm going to see you tomorrow for Splatoon 2. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.